Robin has done some analysis and she's gonna,
Unfortunately, yeah,
well, just kind of update us on
Yeah,
what she did.
okay, so
So we know where we're going,
so Bob and I had met with Carrie to ask a few more questions about the tan, and one of the things I asked was, what about the full year? You know, we get these appropriation reports, we've got the year-to-date expenses compared to the year-to-date budget. What about, and then we see prior year actuals, like, once you've got those actuals for the whole year, and compared them to the budget, so we could see how the actuals for the full 12 months came in compared to the budget for the full 12 months. And she did not have those numbers for us. So I took our appropriations reports that have the prior year and the year before, and I took previous year stuff so that I could do a 2023 unaudited budget versus actual, 2024 unaudited versus budget actual. And then I have the 2025 kind of written in, and then the 2026. What we have so far, our budget in progress to be able to kind of look at them going across. And of course, it's a lot of work. Thank you. You're welcome. I really wish you could see it. And what I saw, just so you know, writ large, the 2023, the total spending was at least what we're seeing in the last, those last year columns on those appropriations reports. The budget, the total spending came in $500,000 under the budget over all of the departments. And then in 2024, the total spending came in 700,000 under the total budget. So, and in 2025 so far, I hate to do that because, yeah, we've annualized some of the biggest departments. I don't know what portion of what they've got coming in could be heavily in November, December, and even
seasonally.
Right. I mean, Carrie gave me a report through November 7th yesterday, but I'm figuring there's probably, I wouldn't even count that as any November stuff.
No.
Not really sure it's full of October, but anyway, so then the other thing that I did was a payment timeline for a TAN timeline for the year, this year. And we borrowed in April, May, June, July, and August. We haven't borrowed since then. We had a nice big infusion in September of 2.8 million that was received. What I did was so we borrowed 724,000 in April, another 913 in May, 560 in June, 805 in July, 989 in August. I went along and said, and none of that's been, there aren't any payments that have been booked yet. So I assume we haven't made any payment against the TAN. So I estimated, I used the 5.66% interest and applied that just to those monthly, as though we had taken the 724 on April 1st, 5.66% interest for that month of April. And then for May, I took the April borrowing plus that interest for the month times another 5 point, divided by 12. So you get 1 month of interest. And I did the same thing for what was borrowed in May, what was borrowed in June. And assuming that we are not going to do any more borrowing, seems like the total estimated interest that we're going to be paying back is $112,000 for those. And worst case, if we borrowed, and because what we've borrowed year to date is $3.99 million. That's what all those monthlies added up to. So worst case scenario, if we had borrowed that whole 3.9 in April, and by the time we're paying it off in December, I said eight months of interest, it would be $151,000 of interest for this year. This year's TAN, which we budgeted 189 for this year. So worst case scenario, you know, that's a 39,000 cushion, which is, but it seems more likely the number is gonna come in around 112. So I just, that's another, another thing that if we could, yeah, I should have sent her the whole workbook, but I did the pages, which was not, I tried to just take a screenshot, thinking we could just put them on a piece of paper, so. That was, anyway,
So generally,
so
you're.
generally this year, I think the tan. I think we're very safe to budget no more than, 115, say, for the tan. Especially considering that we know we over budgeted the tan the last 2 years for a fact, and that there's many thousands there, which I know they don't have a reserve, that what's over budgeted for tan doesn't go into a tan reserve, but it seems to me as though.
So anything anything the county over budgets would lapse into the undesignated fund balance is my guess.
Right.
And so if you had a couple big years where you've got 500,000 and 800,000 or something like that, you'd expect there to be a pretty good chunk of undesignated fund balance,
Right.
which could be used to lower the taxes.
If somehow this ends up, right, to lower the tan, you mean?
No, to lower.
Lower the, right,
The amount that
yeah,
that they charge the towns.
yes, I mean, well, I'm hopeful that, we can see the,
So Robin,
yeah,
2 years ago, when I looked at, I asked for when the towns paid. And
yeah,
I didn't do that this year.
we've got it, though.
Okay,
Sent it,
so when you gave the
Last-
number in September, was that 2 towns?
I wasn't giving you a payment number in September,
Oh, you
I
said
was giving you
revenue
what we
cut.
borrowed.
Okay,
No, it was what we borrowed from.
I thought you said there was an influx of revenue.
Oh, September, the
Yeah.
2.9 million, it only represents 24% of
Yeah,
the town,
when
right?
Robin and I were here on Monday, 2 Mondays ago, whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
We took a look at the payments
Right,
coming
right,
in and the
right.
payments going out.
Right,
And it was kind of interesting, the payments going out were pretty level across the year.
Right, it wasn't on a piece of paper, it's right here.
And the money coming in was almost nothing until September,
right,
October,
right,
November.
right. When I looked, there was even a December payment,
Yeah,
but September was only a couple of towns when I had.
there's a lot.
You're saying 24%?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9 towns paid in September, 1 town, Knox paid in May, which might have been a previous year's commitment, I don't know.
or they could have doubled up
Or
their
it's-
payments or something.
Okay. And then the unorganized territories paid October 9th, that's $4,000, they're very small. But so, yeah, we've got, I think it's 24% or 25%, but it's of, the big ones, you and I, our towns, although I know that our Lincolnville check went out, we
Yeah.
Kind of at the last
We do
one.
it, our taxes are due on the 20th and we do it.
Yeah.
After that it's calculated,
But
so. it's
so,
usually November.
so as of today, they've probably gotten our
Yeah, and they've got
Lincolnville
now.
one and yours, which is,
My concern is that the towns that, I'm happy to hear there's more towns that pay this time in September. But my concern is with the world we're living in this year, in all facets of money, that there's a high probability of towns paying less for later than previous years. I think the challenges this year are going to be off the books in so many ways, in terms of what the needs are in every community.
and I did misspeak when I was talking about the 112, I was thinking about this year and not next year. And yes, the estimated TAN borrowing is totally tied to the bottom line of what we end up totally budgeting, and the total budget for next year. Why is it-
It was 44 or 42% more than the previous year. Which, that's enough to choke a horse.
And that's what my concern is going
Um,
forward into this year.
so-
that-
Yeah, so our total budget 2023 was 10.9 million. It went up and there was 500,000 of that 10.9. The actuals came in 500,000 below in 2023. In 2024, the total we budgeted was 12.5. So we went from 10.9 to 12.5. And what came in was 11.8 as spending, so we had 700,000
Mhm.
underspent. In 2025 year to date, the budget, so our budget 2024 was 12.5, went up to 13.6 in 2025. And the year to date actuals are 9.8 million. So we're almost 4 million under for the year, but when I annualize those estimates, it comes out to 11.9. I didn't annualize, there were things where we've already, like the extension in soil and water. They've already gotten what they were gonna
Yeah,
get for this year. We don't annualize them, but they're the little ones, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, so but even with everything annualized comes to 11.9. So even if that goes to 12.9, that's still under this year's budget.
Mhm.
And currently the budget we've got for next year, the total is 19 million. It's going
Yeah.
from 13.6 to 19.2. I know we haven't got the number yet for employee benefits. But like the employee benefits line this year budgeted 2.4. The annualized estimate's 2.1, that it's gonna come in employee benefits
First line, line five.
for 2025.
So kind of, if I could make a suggestion that we, you kind of summarize what
Yeah,
you did,
that
we
was
could
good. Thank you.
move
Yeah.
a further discussion of this to after we've gotten everybody to come through.
Mm.
And so with that, have you guys had a chance to look at the minutes from the last couple of meetings? Over 24 and 25. I mean, I looked through them this morning. The two things that I had, I know we said we had, like you, Barb, we have unanimous votes on some things. But Doug was absent on one, and I think we had a couple of people absent on another one. And I'm wondering if we should, when we say unanimous, we mean unanimous based on the people.
Yeah.
who were
Yeah, all
present.
attending.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's the only thing I think I really, I saw that.
Yeah, that should.
So have you guys looked at it?
No.
And are there any changes or corrections that you'd like Barb to make before we? All right. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the 24th and 25th. A second?
I just realized maybe I shouldn't have moved it because I wasn't here for the 24th, so I wouldn't wanna have any.
Okay. So Liz moved. And Tammy seconded for the minutes. All right.
Do you need
So-
to take a vote on this?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Abstain.
Abstain.
I'll abstain, well, I'll abstain because I wasn't here for the 24th.
Okay, so.
You abstain.
Phil,
Thank you very much.
where we missed 3, 6, 7, 8, 4. Oh. So I guess we had to take a roll call vote. Sorry. Brandy, how do you vote? In favor? Tammy?
Yes.
Robin? Laura? Mary?
Favor. Yes.
And
Fair.
in favor.
Thank
All right. So we've got. And. So we have the sheriff first. So. Sorry about the delay.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
So I understand through the rumor mill that the group may want to go back through the budget, so I'd ask your preference, do we want to go back through the two lines, line for line, or do we want to go back? Because I know I was specifically asked to come back to address three topics. Do we want to start with those, or how, what is the preference of the committee?
What were the three topics you were asked to talk about?
I was asked to come back to talk about boarding,
Yeah,
because we had a meeting pending to settle the boarding contract.
that's for the jail.
That is for the jail. I was also asked to, address. Let's see.
I know we had some problems in tying out the employee expenses, employee salaries. I think we did.
The other one actually was the, kitchen renovation. You had me to do some research on the renovation. Those were the two specific ones. The other one was, a building maintenance line that I wanted transferred to Chris, and that Chris had the data, and since then, as I understand it, they have transferred that to him, and I think he spoke to you about that one.
Yeah.
So that leaves me with the conversation around our boarding and that capital line.
Do you have any questions?
I think I'm gonna have more than those, but I'd like to start with those.
Okay. So if we jump into boarding, then we're jumping into the jail. Do you want to jump into the jail first?
Yeah, because that was a big conversation that we were waiting for updating information.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the jail, please. I'm sorry, corrections. 1050.
Is there a reason why we call it a different thing on different pages and places?
In what way?
Well, you know, in the tab in the book, it's one thing, on the pages, it's another, you know, it's like, why do we not call it one thing?
I think it just sort of depends. People use the term jail, corrections, sort of. Pick one.
Yeah, can we like move into the modern age and pick one and stick with it?
Jail. To
No.
the GL.
Jail?
Sounds good to me.
You don't have a big, I can say.
I have opinion, but. No, they have opinions.
Is your opinion corrections, or you still like both?
I like, it's corrections, but
I'd say we use the department head's
Really?
terminology.
Really?
I should use the corrections.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're good with that. It's just the confusion, you know, it's a subtle confusion, but
Do we need to
Why do
vote
we
on
need to have
something
it?
like that? Let it be,
No,
okay, cool.
they can call it what they care to call it. There's a lot
Well, I
of
just mean for this to be
Right.
changed. Like
No, you're
from
right.
henceforth in Barb's computer.
It does get confusing.
it's very
Going back and
confusing.
forth.
Yeah,
Right, so what I think the big thing was, you were asking for another $1 million
Right.
in board.
right. So I gave everybody an update on the relationship that have been for the last 3 years attempting to build, two bridges in Knoxville. I explained in the last meeting that I'd gotten this letter from the sheriff in Knox charging us the exorbitant boarding rate that had never been charged before. That I was getting stonewalled, and that we had a meeting set to discuss next year's contract with representatives from two bridges and from Knox County. And that was set for the 10th. And I was anticipating that conversation would lead to a budget number of 2.1 million. So that's where we left off. Anybody that's paid any attention to the news has seen that Knox County is obviously run themselves into some dire straits. And so I had heard a rumor, a little bird told me that although I was assured there were no side deals taking place, that maybe there had been between Knox and Two Bridges, in excluding Waldo County from the conversation. When I asked for clarification, I got crickets. So the day before our meeting in Waldo County, where I was preparing for everyone to arrive, instead I got an email from the colonel of Two Bridges Jail, signed by him and by the sheriff of Knox County. And it essentially stated that they had met in that interim when, during that time that the sheriff in Knox County had no time to meet with me.
Yeah.
And that as the two fully functioning correctional jails in the district had decided that it was not in their best interest to offer Waldo County a contract next year. And that they would basically agree to extend Waldo County bed availability based on whatever the system had day to day at a rate that they chose to set. So I called the colonel or sent him an email trying to get in contact with him. He responded that he wasn't available till the following Wednesday. So on the following Wednesday, I met with him via video, where he assured me again that there was no contract or any deal in place between Two Bridges and Knox, that the board at Two Bridges was simply hesitant to agree to anything, not knowing what was going to happen next year. And I explained to him that given the makeup of our facility being a 72-hour hold and a reentry center and incapable of holding general population, and with an average daily population of around 40 people right now, you know, I can't go into January with whatever beds they happen to have. I said, what happens if January rolls around, you tell me you have 20 beds? What am I going to do with 20 inmates? Oh, I understand your situation, but you know, we're just trying to, you know, blah, blah. He just basically glazed over the conversation. So as I was preparing for my first budget meeting, given the climate across the state, I didn't expect that there was going to be anybody else really interested in that kind of a contract. But I asked my correctional administrator to send out an email to every county that had any capacity to hold our inmates and ask if anybody was interested in the contract, and if they were, what their daily rate would be. And I expected crickets. After our first budget meeting, we actually got an email from Somerset County and said, we're interested in talking with you. So to me, it seemed like a possible lifeline, because if I hadn't been able to work out something with Two Bridges and Knox come January 1st, we might be in a really, really tough spot. So we reached out to Somerset County. We arranged a meeting. The correctional administrator and I went up there. We sat down and had a very frank conversation, explained to him basically the past 3-year history with Two Bridges, what had expired or transpired over the last couple of months between us and Knox and Two Bridges. They're obviously familiar with our situation, not having a full service jail. And I explained to them that Waldo County needs a long-term relationship with a flagship jail. We need a place to hold our inmates. Because obviously building a new jail here is just, it's not in our cards. And so we had a really, really good initial conversation. They have the space for all of our inmates. Initially, they did not believe they did.
Was their rate reasonable?
Well, that's the part I'm building up to, Bob.
I can't wait. I'm talking.
You're the guy that reads the last chapter in every book, right?
Sticking me along, Sheriff.
So we scheduled a second meeting. We took the good commissioner along with us.
Which one's the good one?
I set myself up for that.
Nice to reflect.
So Kevin with me.
Sorry.
He's my liaison. That's my safety net on that one. So Kevin went with me and Matt Magnuson and met with their finance people and their whole crew. From the time of the first meeting to the second meeting, we had been running over the numbers they had given us. So I'll tell you up front that Somerset County does their medication assisted treatment differently than most of the other jails. There's a couple other jails that do it the way they do it. So they offer, because every jail is required by law to provide medication assisted treatment to anybody that qualifies. Somerset has said they'll provide it, but it's going to be Sublocade shot. So basically it's a shot, it lasts for 28 days, can't be diverted, it's simple to give. Downside, it's like $1,500 a shot for 28 days. So it's fairly expensive. The upside of the conversation was their boarding rate, instead of being $138 a day, was initially $95 a day. But they wanted $95 a day to hold someone. More for the females. They want the 138 for females because they have to basically move out federal inmates, female inmates, and they are getting 138 for them. So basically we're just replacing that revenue for them. But then we had to come back, we had to crunch some numbers. How many people do we have on MAT over the course of a year? What would that cost be? And then how did we want to try to plug those numbers in the budget?
MAT is the shot.
Medication assisted treatment, yeah. So basically, when you look at 40 beds, when you average out male beds at $95 a day, female beds at $138 a day, based on our average daily population over the year, our boarding rate with them will be 1.5 million. In order to pay for the Sublocade shot on the roughly 50% of our population that's engaged in MAT at any time, it will be an additional 400. So our total to board people at Somerset, instead of the 2.1, will be 1.9. So we're coming in a couple of $100,000 less than what it would have cost us to go to two bridges. As far as transportation and that stuff, it's like a mile different between Belfast and Somerset than it is the two bridges.
What town is their facility in?
It's just the town Madison, just above.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's just over the sky.
Yep.
So, there's not a whole lot of differences. The biggest issues with going to Somerset for us is that it's a different prosecutorial district. Defense attorneys don't like having people up there, and judges want, you know, it's dealing with courts and all of those things that we have to deal with, but we've done it before, we'll do it again.
So it looks like we're gonna go with Somerset.
It's either Somerset or nothing.
Yeah.
Because nobody else responded. Quite honestly, no other jail has the space. I didn't think Somerset had the staff to get that. I mean, they have the bed space, but I didn't think they had the staffing to do it, but
Yeah.
apparently they do, and they
So, and the shot that you're talking about is for drug addicted inmates?
medication assisted treatment, you know. Substance use just.
Is that a standard for like any, like most like drugs that people might be on, or is that specific to like a particular drug?
I believe it's specifically to opioids.
Okay, yeah.
And so if your crystal ball were shined up, what's the future look like?
Well, I will tell you that in my conversations with the commissioner,
That would be the good one or the other one?
it's a good one.
It's a cost increase, it's this one.
Yeah. So, in all transparency, the previous Board of Commissioners chased the dollar when we were doing contracts for years. If Somerset was cheaper, we'd go to Somerset. If Two Bridges is cheaper, we'd go to Two Bridges. If we got to deal with Knox, we'd go with Knox, which sounds great. The problem is when you are one of those facilities and you are building up your staffing to hold an extra 40 people, and then the rug gets pulled out and you lay off, it just burns a lot of bridges when you go
Mhm.
at business that way.
At least two.
And, yeah. And so I expressed to Kevin, I said, if we're gonna go talk to Somerset, we need to go in there and talk to them about a long-term contract, because they're going to need some certainty that we're not just going to next year decide to go back to two bridges again.
Mhm.
And that was one of the first things the sheriff said when we walked through the door.
Yeah.
So, and quite honestly, there's a little bit of selfishness in wanting a long-term contract. I threw out on the table that we should have at least a minimum of 3, if not a 5-year contract with them. Because we need
Yeah, you need the certainty too.
the certainty here, and I don't want to have to come in next year and be like, oh, we need another $1 million. You just, that's not sustainable.
And you were
So-
screwed.
What's that?
You were screwed.
Yeah, and so to me, it's a benefit to us because we can get predictability, and we talked about that in the second meeting, like how do we cover potential cost increases for Somerset, but not create a cliff for us that we have to come up with $1 million in a year.
Mhm.
And so that's part of building in that contract. And quite honestly, just from my own perspective, and the commissioners can speak for themselves, I expressed to Somerset that the reality is I would prefer that we actually start a dialogue about a legitimate long-term partnership, because let's face it, at the end of the day, we are a check writing county and they have a facility that's too big for what they need. And there's no sense in Waldo County building a jail if we can have a long-term relationship with someone that already has one. And so to get that relationship etched in something more concrete than a contract that comes and goes with different commissioners and different sheriffs, I think we should have conversations about a long-term relationship.
How old is their jail?
Their jail is about 18 years old. They're, I think, 2 years away from having their 20-year debt paid off.
Good.
The good thing is, I mean, I think the commissioner mentioned it in our previous meeting. I mean, currently to build a jail, you're looking at $800 a square foot. They built a 220 bed jail for like $30 million at the time. So they bought it for pennies compared to what you would have to today. And it's built in by the same group that built 2 bridges. It's designed so that you could go out and add a pod on and not have to, all the infrastructure's right there, the land and everything. It's yeah, it's a
Well thought
long-term.
of, well thought of.
Yeah, oh yes, absolutely. It's a great facility. Yeah. Pod style, so it requires far less staffing than old linear style facilities.
How much better are the county jails than the state jails? The state correctional facilities?
I don't know that, well,
The reason I'm asking is because we talked with the attorney, the district attorney, and the district attorney says, well, I think it was Eric. Said there were a lot of people who would delay going to state penitentiary because they didn't want to go to the state penitentiary.
Yep.
And if they then go to court and they get found guilty or whatever, they get time served in a county jail as a reduction.
part of it, yeah. I would say that there are certainly people that I think game the system that way. I think there are defense attorneys that game the system. I think there's a lack of person, and there's a lot of reasons why that delay is occurring.
Mhm.
That may be one of them. I mean, I guess I would ask anybody at the table, if you had a choice of doing a year at a county jail or going to the Maine state prison where there's 1,000 inmates,
Mhm.
which would you choose? When you put 1,000 of the state's worst criminal offenders into a facility and that's where you're being told you're gonna go for a year,
Mhm.
sitting in a pod of 4, 5, 6 guys at the county for OUI,
Mhm.
probably isn't too bad of a looking way
Yeah.
to spend your time
Yeah.
versus sitting in a cell at the Maine State Prison. Thank God, I've never put myself in that position,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that if I were in that position, I guess I could understand the rationale. Plus, if I'm here and my family is here and they can come visit me at the county jail versus driving to Warren, yeah, I mean, I could see a guy playing the game that way. And
And there's no chance of getting beds from the state the state prison?
State will not hold
No,
count.
no.
Statutorily, that's
No,
it's almost like a line between state law enforcement and federal law enforcement. It's just statutorily, they are required to hold people with specific sentences, and
no.
counties are statutorily required to do what we do, and they're very different. They have held inmates for us when they meet very specific, if it's pre-sentence, very specific situations and needs, like if they have medical units and mental health units that no one else anywhere has. And so when we've come across individuals that are suffering from like really serious medical issues, they actually have one of our people right now that has got a lot of medical stuff going on. No county jail would take him because they don't have the adequate facilities to do it.
Mhm.
And we petitioned the state and they took them on a short term until they could get him beyond that. So, but it has to be in that very narrow,
And you have to pay for that too?
the state does not pay us.
Okay.
No, we do not pay the state. No, we, because we have an MOU with the state and
Yeah.
we have a very good relationship with the Department of Corrections. They do things like that for us, and they don't charge us.
Glad they can do that. Holy moly.
Well,
It's a tough spot.
yeah, when you don't have a facility to do that, they do, it's
Yeah.
a partnership that's
All right, well,
pretty valuable.
let's look at the numbers and see what we come up with on this. So, I'm just trying to find inmates, medical and surgical. You've asked for.
Yeah, so rather than come in and say boarding fee 1.9
Yeah,
and then paying for medical out of that boarding line, we just had a conversation and said it seemed more appropriate to put expenses where they seemed appropriate, which was if the boarding fee is actually 1.5, that should be a boarding line. And if we're gonna pay for medical expenses, like medication assisted treatment, that probably ought to be in a line for medical services. So that they can be more accurately tracked, and it's more transparent about what that money's actually being used for. So that's why we divided the 1.9 out into the boarding and the medical line instead of just lumping it all together.
so I'm trying to find it in my budget. Do you know the
But-
line numbers?
So what's the medical gonna be if we go to Somerset?
So our previous medical, we had, we had proposed 40, the commissioners proposed 60. I think between dialogue between you guys, you had settled it back to 50. So we're asking for 400 to be added to that to cover the specific medication assisted treatment that we get at Somerset. So that line would go to 450 basically. And that line is, Matt, I see your hand up, it's 4018.
I thought Carrie was gonna pair new.
It's in there. Yeah.
Okay,
it
you- I
does-
just wanted to see-
Yeah, yes, it does say
Okay.
50, which
Yeah.
like blew my mind.
Okay, nope.
Shoot. Give me half.
And then inmate boarding, we've got it.
And the inmate boarding line, which would be 4030, we dropped from the request of 2.1 down to 1.5.
So the net is 200.
So the net is basically a $200,000 reduction.
That, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
And the only thing I'd say about just to double down on the medical thing, I mean, we are obligated to do this, it's one of those things, so.
Yeah.
You know, we've had some conversations about different ways, I mean. To the sheriff's point. We have a little bit of urgency here, we have to do something.
Sure.
You know, and it's, you know, we talked with Commissioner Kelly, who has great, you know, medical background, we talked about some ways to maybe. Trying to work at during some of these, particularly this drug, cheaper, but there's no guarantees. You know, I mean, we can wish in one hand and know the rest. It's, but, you know, they're, in talking with Matt, Magnuson, our correctional administrator, he has, you know, his experience in the state system, and, you know, he's familiar with some different, programs out there that may, we may be able to offset some of this, whether we can do something, you know, do some grant opportunities or wherever the case may be. But we, you know, this is all, it's all kind of coming at us. So we may be able to do something, and we're gonna work diligently, where, it's the sheriff and I, he hears it from me all the time, where we're taxpayers too, we wanna. That's that medical line, it's a true representation. I think we have some great people working on this project, we might be able to run that, be able to get that number. So next year, the conversation may look a little bit differently, but to strike this, it really was quite a miracle, if you will, to actually be able to find another relationship. Because we've left Somerset before too, for those of you that sitting at the table that don't know this, we've pitted Somerset against two bridges in the past, we bounced back and forth. And I thought it was pretty gracious of them to reach right out and have a reasonable conversation about it. So even with that shift, yes, that line, it looks big, but to come in 200,000 less than what we were thinking it was gonna look like, I told the sheriff, I thought he and Matt did a fantastic job, and to extend thanks to Sheriff Lancaster.
Laura, you had a question?
Yeah, so, okay, so when I look at last year's number, so you're saying in the inmate boarding from last year, we had within that 1.1 million, we had a lot of the medical that this year you have separated.
So, yeah, two bridges, they allow very broad spectrum of treatment, so they allow methadone, and they allow Sublocade and Suboxone. I mean, they allow a bunch of different things. So those costs are less than obviously the shot. And so when we do a contract with them for X number of dollars per day, it includes much of that. They break it out when we get the bill, but when we put in that 1.1, we expected that would cover their regular medication assisted treatment that they do with turning it there.
Because just when I look then at the numbers of the new boarding with the medication, and knowing that the boarding at Somerset is supposed to be less, it's still a much larger number here. And
the contract that we did, well, I'll say this. So I've talked about the 3 years that we've been trying to build this collaborative with Two Bridges. So in the year prior to last year, our number was 100,000 for boarding. Again, that was during a time when we were having conversations with Two Bridges and we were trying to be collaborative. Last year, we went up to 1.1 million, which was a pretty decent increase. That increase was really designed to fill a budget gap at Two Bridges to make sure they could keep officers and keep the doors open. And again, when we started looking at the 2.1, that was again a way to make sure that Two Bridges had enough of a budget to keep open. It's part of that downfall of when you are running a correctional facility and we are boarding there and we become a check writing county. So at the end of the day, when they tell us it's going to cost us X number of dollars, I mean, we were paying a boarding rate, I think, of $80 a day last year. And this year they said, we're going to go to 138. So when you start, and our boarding contract last year was based on 30. And right now we're holding 40. So we needed to not only jump from a boarding rate that averaged out to about $80 a day, we had to jump it to $138 a day. And then we had to increase the bed days from 30 a day to 40 a day or 45 a day to make sure we had plenty. So when you add those two together, yeah, that's another $1 million in boarding to try to cover those costs if we had gone to Two Bridges. So then when we go shift to Somerset, because they do things differently, their boarding rate is less, but our medical assisted treatment cost there is more, which brings us back to that 1.9.
yeah, which is really crazy. So I guess my concern would just be when I look back at, because I'm big on looking at actuals, not basing our budget maybe on from what we budgeted the year before, but looking at that trend of actual spent over the last few years. So I hate for us to be sitting here next year after we pass this really large budget and seeing a large amount of money that goes into some capital reserve account that because we over budgeted and we place that burden on the taxpayers. Because every time we do that in every department, it equals out to a big burden on the shoulders of the taxpayers.
Well, I can tell you that if we enter into a contract with Somerset County It's going to be a contract for 40 beds. And it's going to be at the rate that I described at $95 a day, with a guaranteed number of beds, which is
95 for men.
95 for men, guaranteed number of beds. And then it's going to be $138 a day, guaranteed number of females. And if we go over that, it's going to cost us a daily rate for anything to go, an average daily population for the month over that. So there is a fixed cost to go into Somerset, and it's going to be 1.5 million. And when we look at the 400,000, we're looking at,
You said 1.9 before.
that's the total with the
Yeah.
MAT.
Okay,
So that's, when you look at the MAT, we are basing that on our history. We typically run about 50% of our population on MAT. So when you have an average daily population of 40, you have to figure out 20 people a day or 20 people a month getting a $1,500 shot. And that comes out to 400. So and I can't look back at last year and say, oh, our trend was to spend $80 a day. So we could build our budget on that, because I know when I go to Somerset that that's not my fixed cost. So unfortunately, you can't use that model that you are describing when you're dealing with jail contracts, because they have very fixed number of inmates and fixed costs associated.
These opioid treatments, just to follow up, these opioid treatments, is any part of that reimbursed in subsidy forms to you guys? And does that come in a different place? Does that not get deducted from your budget?
So when the Board of Corrections went away, the Board of Corrections was basically the legislative body created after a state attempted to take over county jails. The takeover failed. They created this Board of Corrections. And they froze everybody's budgets, county budgets at a certain rate, and said, state's going to cover every expense above and beyond that. So we had built this significant statewide dependency on state covered cost over the years of Board of Corrections. So under Governor LePage, he said, we don't want it anymore, it's going away. But the state created some statutes that said, oh, we'll continue to fund you. So the counties go back to the legislature every year, and we argue why we need that supplemental money. So what they do is in the first year of their biennium, they usually will give us a fairly fixed rate of like $24.5 million. That is divided up through the Department of Corrections based on your average daily population in your jail. And that's dispersed. And that's part of what you will see on there when you see a revenue offset in our budget. That's that funding. Part of that is classified as community corrections funding, a fixed percentage of it. In the second part of the biennium, the last couple of years, when we go back for the supplemental budget, asking for money, the governor has said, we will fund MAT and that stuff. So give us what your MAT costs have been. So we will break down what it costs us to do that. It comes out to about $4 million the state has agreed to give us. Although counties have argued that our cost is greater than that. That's what the governors and the legislature has signed off on. So we've gotten $4 million in the second year of the biennium, dispersed out across all of the counties to try to offset MAT. Again, that is part of the numbers reflected in our budget offset. And that's based off our average daily population that we house. So that's the only, that's the only revenue that we get to offset boarding or operations or medication assisted treatment.
So, first, when I do the 1,500 per month for 20 inmates for 12 months, it's only 360,000. It's not 400,000.
Can you say that again for me?
You said the shot was 1,500 for 28 days.
For 28 days.
Which-
So 13 shots each.
Okay, I
basically
wasn't
13.
doing 13. Okay, so that's probably the difference.
Well,
Yeah,
you still
come-
also got dental and
Yeah.
surgical in there.
Well, and,
Yeah.
well, and that was a next question that I was gonna have. So where, I thought part of the different places, part of the change to the The doctor being pulled out, where's the doctor now?
He's in the part-time line.
He is in the part-time.
That's why there's this increase in the part-time line.
Right.
To cover his monthly stipend.
So. So you're saying that the 50 that we previously had for the medical dental line that was covering medication assisted treatment in our current
So
method of
there's,
doing it?
we have essentially two different types of medical expenses. You're gonna have, when you do a contract with Two Bridges and you say, all right, we're gonna send our folks down, we're gonna spend X number of dollars a day. They have a medical provider and there's certain things that are just automatically included in that. So when they go to med call, if they get a prescription, if their medication, they have Enzo, which is their MAT provider, those things are encompassed in our average daily boarding rate. But when that inmate has an issue and they put them in the cruiser and drive them to the emergency room, or they have cancer, or they have some dental emergency, any of these other medical related things that take them outside of just the normal everyday care that they have, you pay that above and beyond. And that's that $50,000 line. I mean, we've had years where it hasn't been that bad. We've had years where we've had 2 or 3 guys in the hospital at the same time for extended periods of time. And so we pay the Medicare rate for those expenses, but even paying the Medicare rate, they're.
Yeah.
You know,
But it sounded like you said that with Two Bridges, the medication, the MAT was included in
Yep.
their room and board.
Yeah, yep,
Um,
because it's significantly cheaper to provide somebody with
okay,
some of the other types of medication. The shot is expensive.
okay.
So you're saying that Somerset only uses the shot
I only use the shot.
and Two Bridges uses other medication?
Yeah, so Somerset has done an entire analysis of staffing time,
Yeah.
medical staffing time that it takes to dispense medications. I know it's hard to imagine, but there's an incredible amount of diversion. These guys and
Yeah,
gals get
yeah.
incredibly creative to
Yep.
try to find ways to divert these medications into the facility so that they can hoard them and then use them all at once or sell them or trade them.
Yeah.
So you're constantly dealing with diversion of medication. And so when they did an evaluation of that, plus on top of that, they evaluated post-release deaths. A lot of people that are released and then they go out and they try to use the same amount of opioids they had before and then they die. And so when they evaluated overall the labor that they were spending, the time trying to deal with the diversion, the number of overdose deaths that they were experiencing, people went back into the community. And then they looked at the history of using the shot, which is you cannot divert it because once you got it, you got it. And once you leave, you can't really overdose because it's basically nullifying the effects of the drugs. Overdose deaths went down to almost nothing. Staffing went significantly down. So they've done their own internal analysis to try to figure out cost benefits of doing one over the other and ultimately have landed that the shots, when you look at the big picture, is really not a whole lot cost difference for them.
So those folks leave with a plan, whether or not it's followed through on how to continue to receive treatment?
So I was really happy that I will say years ago, when we were boarding with Somerset, their programming capacity wasn't anywhere near as robust as it is today.
Mhm.
They've actually got case managers up there doing post-release case management, connecting people to resources in the community as they.
Even in our community, even if it's a different community?
Well, part of our conversation with them was, there's one side of the relationship, which is the boarding piece, the financial piece, but the other part of it is the programming piece. Obviously, at the reentry center, we're program heavy. That's, where it's what we do there, prepare people for reentry. And we expressed that we really wanted to see a relationship between our programming staff and theirs, to see where we can strengthen what they're doing and what then they can do.
Which I'm not.
Steal some of their ideas.
If your plan with them is much better than a 1 or 2 year plan.
Yeah, I mean, when you start to do reentry planning, a lot of it is dependent on the level of participation by the people that are being released.
Sure.
Yeah.
Some guys think they've got it all figured out and they don't need any help, but there's a lot of guys that recognize they don't. And so the key is really to provide that transition planning to get them back into some stable housing and
Yeah,
back into
yeah.
employment and back re-engaged with their families and in a way that reduces their risk of ending up back into the same.
Yeah, I would like-
back.
I would like our, you know, all of us want the jail population down, but certainly the statistic of half of the people incarcerated being needing MAT is like, you know, can we get that down to 20 someday? Like,
So we've done we did a kind of a impromptu evaluation one time back, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, for the Maine Sheriff's Association. They asked some questions about population. So I asked Major Porter to run some numbers for me, and when he looked over a 3-year period of intakes at our jail, I asked him to evaluate every intake, identify individuals that had been arrested 3 or more times, to identify in their medical screening any indication of substance use or mental illness or co-occurring disorders. And what we found was that when you looked at the numbers of people that were coming back in, about 75% of our usage is driven by a very small number of people, and all of them were, except for I think like 30, indicated substance use, mental illness, or both. So I've said it a million times to different people when they've asked, substance use and mental illness are the drivers to the criminal justice system. And it's part of why I favor things like co-responders and some of these things,
Yeah.
because those are the issues that we have to address. And I'll get on my soapbox, quite honestly, as a society, we have failed systemically to address those issues in any meaningful way other than to put them in jail. And unfortunately, it costs us a shit ton of money to do it.
Yeah, it does. It's taxpayers here.
Yeah. I mean,
Goodness.
if we were really serious about spending money wisely, we would not be spending money housing people with mental illness in correctional facilities and trying to address substance use once they're incarcerated. We'd be doing it on the front end in the community.
Yeah.
In a meaningful way, but that some reason that's not the way our society chooses to do it.
Yeah.
We choose to continue this belief that if we can arrest our way out of the problem and that that's the solution to everything is to arrest people and throw them in jail. I hear it all the time. I mean, people are yelling at our DA, oh, you don't prosecute enough people, you don't put enough people in jail. The problem with that is if she put everybody in jail that came through her doors, we would be sitting here looking at much larger numbers. If we didn't have Maine pretrial, we'd be looking at much larger numbers. I mean, we try to do what we can within the system, but for some reason we've built a culture in this country around incarceration being the answer to our problems. Even though the 60-year track record of our war on drugs is miserable, still stick to that gun and think that it's the answer. So.
More questions for the sheriff? And then.
Well, the part-time on the personnel page that you gave us, which of course I closed my book. I'm pretty sure that the breakout of people that, so not the overall budget, the breakout. It shows, 99,750 for the community liaison. Oh, wait, so where's the doctor? Because you said the doctor was in part-time, that's
Part-time.
105. Oh, okay.
Part-time employees has jumped to 105.
Okay. And so the community liaison, that was the one that I was, you've got 95 down, but that's this year's budget. And it says on the personnel sheet that you want 99,750.
I think on the personnel sheet, they automatically included a 2% increase for the 2.7 or 2, whatever the county had said we were gonna provide. I think we built that into that automatically.
Okay.
So
that's just 95,000.
yeah, we can keep it at 5.
The other question is on that, so on the personnel sheet, It doesn't add up, the numbers don't add up to the 1,468,093, the numbers on this sheet. With the 99,750 add up to 1,458,000,
Mhm.
not 1,468,000. I mean, not with the 90, sorry, the community liaison is not in there, but when you add up. Everything you've got with line numbers from 3103 to 3125, it adds up to 1,458,911. But the number that's on our actual budget sheet is 1,468,093.
On the sheet that I'm looking at, it says 305 personnel full-time,
Right.
1458911.
Right,
Yep.
that's
You're
not
saying-
what the requested budget number is in here. In the budget request, it says 1,468,093. So can we change that to the 1,458,911? Because there's nothing supporting the 1,468,093.
Mhm.
I don't have any answer, but I guess you certainly can. I don't have any answer
This-
for why one is.
It seems like this breakout is very specific. Seems like this would be the right number.
I would assume so, yeah. And without without being able to dig into it beyond this, I guess I can't answer that question. So.
So,
So I think.
So
that
you
there's
want
not-
to change line 3,000
Yeah,
to be the number that they've got in this schedule?
yeah,
right,
1,458,911.
yeah.
it's not quite 10,000. That's interesting. The last column of these now says reduction request instead of.
Well, because we had
We've
at our other
gone through
meeting, we
this.
said we'd like you to find,
Yeah,
I just can't math that fast because it's not an even number.
like, well, there's that.
So what, the number is what? 1,458,000.
911. And that's going by the sheet.
I can
The
count
details.
there.
And we've taken out. Community liaison at 95, but this sheet shows the community liaison at 99,750.
That's what he was saying, that was they'd applied a 2.5%
Oh, increase.
increase.
That's-
So changing that back to the 95,000.
So for line 3,000 full-time on the reduction request column, the reduction request is
Well, Oh, yeah,
9,182.
okay, that's the amount.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then are there other questions or about other line items in the corrections? Budget?
We did want to talk about the capital
Mhm.
for the
Yes.
kitchen renovation. So, during our last meeting, we talked about our current budget. We had money set aside to regrade the area behind the correctional facility because we keep experiencing flooding in the basement. So the contractor came, did all that work a week or so ago, 10 days ago. Our bill for that is, I think it was like 8,000 or 9,000. We had planned for 25. So we met and had some conversations about utilizing some of those remaining funds to try to kickstart the kitchen project. The other thing that I did was I had a conversation with Commissioner Kelly, good commissioner, about the possibility of leaning on them that if we had to look at a reserve to try to help with some of the expenses. We've had some internal conversations about ways to try to shave down the cost. We're not going to eliminate the wood counters, we're not going to cope with counters, but we have talked about ways to try to go to maybe some used restaurant equipment places and just try to figure out if we can do it on a shoestring. So if this group could afford us the same 25,000 in that line next year, reduce it by 50 from the 75 for that particular project. So reduce it from the 75 we requested by 50 down to 25. Between the money we have left over this year, the 25 that if you will give us that next year. And then leaning on the commissioners for anything that might come above and beyond that. I think we can get that project done. So
So what would that total?
So you take that total line and reduce it by 50, because some other things in that capital line, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a little confusing
Yeah.
because the line we have isn't fully matching up with what we're talking about right now, and I'm not sure what was in it.
He told us at the other meeting, there was a car, $1,159 per month per car. Or
So there's
5 years.
I mean, we have two cruisers that are currently over 130,000 miles each, and then one with a blown motor. And then yesterday, we were transporting some of our residents up to Somerset, and somebody was in a hurry to get out of the Cumberland Farms and pulled out and ran right into the side of us, and so they totaled one of our old cruisers, and now we're down to one cruiser with 130,000 miles. So, yeah, the capital line, we've asked for to lease cruiser in 26 and then another cruiser transport vehicle in 27.
So accounting for everything in capital outlay, including 25 for the kitchen, what's the total? What should the total be?
Oh
I
boy,
get 38,908.
Okay, that's okay.
38.
So that's what's in there. now. Okay.
And 38, yeah.
Yep.
So-
Yeah, 38.9, so that's accurate, what's in there right now. Yeah. We'll give them the $2. That's my opinion. But I'm coming to
Chase
be.
win.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I, maybe not a question. So Jason, you have years of experience, you are very passionate about what you do. And restorative justice. And you know your budget numbers maybe better than any other department head. You put a lot of work into your homework in preparing for your budgets each year, looking at back history, you got charts, and I mean, you are the ultimate example of a responsible employee doing their budget work, sending their budget.
feel like there's a butt coming.
There definitely is. But I need to acknowledge that because you are special in that regard. And I appreciate that. We had a little summary at the beginning of today where we talked about the budget 3 years ago and 2 years ago and this year and next year. And it's almost double in 3 years. It's mind-boggling. It's just, there are not words. And there are, unfortunately, for you standing here and for the commissioners and for Jason, there are a few areas that really stand out just because of their numbers.
Mhm.
Benefits is cherry on top, but
Mhm.
that's not for right now.
Oh.
And we went through very seriously your budget before. We've asked you back. You've done more homework. You presented everything well, and we understand it, I believe now. But we also listened to a committee member who did some serious homework in terms of percent of budget spent overall,
Mhm.
not yours,
Right.
overall.
Yeah.
You know this county and the people in this county maybe better than anyone in the room in terms of the economic situations of people in this county. And I'm sure, as we all are, this is a very sensitive time because of the federal government and nonsense. So this is now a more serious subject on top of the fact that we were already crazed with the budget prior to SNAP and LIHEAP and,
Yeah.
you know, all of that that's going on this November.
Yeah.
And there are people, I'm gonna get emotional. There are people in this county who are good people, they're hard workers. They did everything right in their lives. that they've been shit on by society and the economy. And they are struggling like never before.
Mhm.
And the taxpayers, even beyond the lowest level, let's move up to workforce housing, not housing, but workforce.
Yeah.
Teachers, nurses, police, sheriffs, you know, the people that make our community run.
Mhm.
They're not faring any better in this economy. Everybody is going backwards except the top 1%.
Yep.
Nobody is even holding level. And we are sitting here with this unfortunate task of having a budget presented that is almost double 3 years ago. And it's not sustainable. It's not, I've been doing the Belfast budget for 13 years and I take it very seriously and I dig deep. And, you know, when I look and listen to other people here that are representing towns of 400 people versus 7,000 plus, and I'm concerned. This is not going to work. Nobody at this table is going to be able to go back to their select boards or councils. And they've made this clear times you weren't in the room, with their questions and their concerns. We thank you, commissioners. We unanimously requested that the commissioners back off from the 18-month budget.
Right.
Because when we listened to the benefit story and what that was going to amount to, there was no way. And Belfast had a successful transition to the fiscal year from the calendar year a number of years back, but we were in a much better, healthier financial situation when we did it. I was a strong proponent of the 18-month budget. That was hard for me to back off on that.
We appreciate that.
But there is no way with this budget, and there's no way that we can go forward with this budget, even sitting here today. So that's why I did the lead-in, because I know how hard and accurately you work on your budget. And it's not like I'm expecting a windfall. I'm looking for pennies, nickels, and dimes on every line. And I don't want to tell you, I don't want to say, we're going to slash every line 5%. I don't want to do that. I'm smarter than that. But you're the one who's the smartest. And I don't want to talk for everybody at this table, but I can't vote to accept this final line with your hard work as it is. I just can't. And there aren't any other places. I mean, there's, you know, we're going to talk benefits, but we're not in control of that. We're going to talk with Jason shortly. We've talked about TAN some, and, you know, we took away pennies and nickels and dimes and vigor from other departments that were surprised. And we need to ask that of you in the lines that you're in control of. And I just don't want to do it with just 10%, 5%, 3%, whatever it is.
Sure.
I need your help. We need your help.
Well, one thing though, the budget that your amended budget request, like it already includes the reduction of 50,000. Many of our reduction requests that we'd already talked about in the previous
Yes.
meeting are in this line here. The only one that,
Is
I
the
cropped
top
out.
line.
well, the top one, we've done another 9182
Right.
basically,
Right.
but then the inmate medical, dental, surgical, where we're asking for a reduction. They did take that out of their 60 is down to the 50.
So we've got the 10,000 in the budget.
Well, it's already been changed in their number. That's the way I was thinking of it. This column of
The red
rust
column,
colored,
yeah.
right, what they've now requested here reflects that one. You see that,
where it's 10,000 less.
Yes,
right, 400,000 more and 10,000 less. I'm just saying we already did that one, so
Yeah.
if you're trying to take the reduction request side and take that number, that's already
baked in.
baked in, so I would cross that one off. Just add in the 91.2.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I lost you.
Okay.
So Mary, what are you asking the sheriff to do? Are you asking him to cut? Where else can you cut, sheriff?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
So. I'll answer that question after I get back on my soapbox for a second.
Yep.
So. In response to your comments, you are right in the fact that I think I have a fairly reasonable grasp of the dire situation of folks in the community. Part of the reason why I think both of us are members of Rotary, and I think it's why we do food drives, and it's why we try to do this exercise every year to be as reasonable with our requests as possible. Because to Matt's point, not only are we taxpayers, but I have a mother who lives on $700 a year and wouldn't stay in her house if it wasn't for all of her kids pitching in to make sure she can stay there. I recognize we have 12% of our population in Waldo County living under the poverty level. That's $30,000 for a family of 4. How do you even begin to survive? I get it. So there's a part of me as I prepare this budget, recognizing those things, that wrestles between my personal views and understanding of the situation. My wife and I have grinded for everything we own. Nobody has handed it to either one of us. So I understand what it means to put in a day's work to make a few bucks. And trying to figure out where you're gonna
Yeah.
trim and where you're gonna pay. And
Yeah.
I get it, because that's been my life as well. But I also wrestle between my personal feelings and what I feel is my obligation and what people elected me to do, which is provide for the public safety of the community. And as much as it sucks when you see these costs going up, I also recognize that that is the job I've been tasked with, which is trying to come up with a budget that I believe meets that public safety need. So having said that, I mean, if I look at this budget and you ask me where I think we could cut, I feel like I've defended every line here with actual expenses. I mean, the largest increases in my budget, wages, which are obviously beyond your and my control. Those are controlled by the commissioners. And boarding, which I think I've explained how we got to where we are.
Thank you for that.
The only place that I can see in this budget where we have real room to cut that's not going to be detrimental is probably in the BOA line. I mean, we moved our JP out of that. That's always been a part of it, that 42,000. We asked
JP.
RGP, restorative justice.
I thought you said power.
Right.
So, yeah, my accent and Maine gets me sometimes. So we moved that out of there and I explained why we did that, and we backfilled that position with adding some capacity within the BOA because we haven't before. I mean, at the end of the day, will we survive without that 42,000 in the BOA contract that in supplanting that? I think we probably will. It means we'll have less driver hours, less counseling hours, capacity, but that's the only place where I can really see where we could maintain the services that we have and really not take a hard hit somewhere and have to reduce something. Statutorily, the office of sheriff is obligated to provide for a county jail and to care for the people that are incarcerated. Statutorily, that's my requirement. Statutorily, as I read the statutes, I'm not mandated to do patrol. We could all just fold up our patrol division and send them all home. Because statutorily, we're not required to do that. So when I look at really hard questions like, hey, if we're gonna start chopping significant money out of a budget, where do you have the latitude to do it? It's really on my patrol side. But when I look at my patrol side, anybody that heard me on my soapbox when I was campaigning, the national average is one cop for every 425 people. We have one for every 1,800,
Yeah.
and we're covering 800 square mile. I mean, we're providing a service on a shoestring right now, and
we rely on your patrol.
Yeah.
oh, I
Our-
recognize.
Yeah.
I just, when I'm looking at it statutorily, like where
Mhm.
are my obligations as the sheriff and what am I mandated to provide and what am I not?
Mhm.
The only real place that I have where I can say, yeah, man, if we need to save $1 million, where do you do that? Well,
You can't.
yeah, I mean, there's only statutorily only some places we can cut. So, I mean, I'd be happy to go through the lines
So
again and
could
we
we
can.
come back to the VOA conversation?
Sure, yeah.
I'm also not about cutting off my nose to spite my face.
Right.
So what's the ramification?
So hold on, let me grab another phone.
Mhm.
So that 42,000 that we asked to backfill, that was at the request of my correctional administrator. He needed more driver's hours, so he wanted to increase the driving hours by 15. At that rate of pay, that was $14,820. We wanted to increase our recovery coach hours by 5 and our drug and alcohol counselor by 5. That would be 6,700 and 8,500, 1,300 for some supplies. And then a cost of living increase, which, as I said in our previous meeting, we never provided to BOA. That would be 10,500. That comes to about 42,000. Or it comes to 42,000. So those are the things that we would live without. BOA would have to find a way to live without a cost of living increase. They wouldn't have those extra 5 hours for the drug and alcohol counselor or the recovery coach. And they'd have to do without 15 hours of additional 15 hours of driver. That's what the 42,000.
Well,
cover.
the counseling and coaching definitely sounds like notes to spite your face, given what we're hearing about, everything else, but what is like what is the extra driving hours? What are the ramifications of that? You mentioned the $14,000 in extra driving.
So VOA tries to rely on as many volunteer hours as they possibly can to do the driving. Those just haven't been as robust as, so we end up having to pay stipends and try to get people to do it, pay them. So we use that for getting residents to and back from work, getting them to counseling appointments, getting them to activities in the community, super and circle, or whatever they do. Anytime they leave the facility and need to go somewhere, because none of them have vehicles, obviously, we have to find a way to transport them to anything that they go to. And obviously, one of the biggest goals of what we do is when they get into the final stages, close to release, we're getting them employments. And some of these guys are, they're working at local jobs all over the county and they've got to be there at really odd hours. And so we run our staffing at a pretty low level. But what we do is we have 3 on staff, correctional staff. And so if all 3 are there, we're mandated to have a minimum of 2. So we can free up a correctional officer that can do transports to do it sometime. So we've been running around trying to fill the gap with our staff, or we pull a VOA staff member and send them to do it. Correctional military, we simply didn't want to have to try to pull from our existing staffing all the time and wanted to try to bolster that driving hours so that we weren't digging into our current staffing. And that's why I say we're doing it now. And that's what we would have to do moving forward. We just wouldn't be able to pay and get some paid drivers to do that.
This may be, I'm not sure if this is a good question or not, but under this VOA, right? This, do you have, the whole point of this VOA is to keep people out of the system, correct? To
It
keep
is.
them from coming back over and over and over and over.
That's.
So do you have, because number one, are you required to do that by statute, or is that just something that you guys do? Here in Waldo County, or in all these other counties? And you have stats on how well this actually works?
Yeah.
I mean,
So I'll answer both those questions. First of all, no, you're not statutorily required to run a reentry center.
so in the long run, it saves you money to actually do this. I mean, keeps you at the 40, you know what I mean, instead of going like 50, 60, whatever.
So I see the reentry center in a similar light that I see our Maine pretrial contract and some of the other things that we do to keep our population down. The entire purpose of the reentry center was built around risk reduction. That is the core of that model. And when I say risk reduction, as I talked about earlier, the very small core number of individuals and communities that drive the vast majority of the move in the criminal justice system. And when you really, when somebody comes in, we do a risk assessment on them, an LSIR. And we look at what is causing these individuals to reoffend and come back into the system over and over and over. Substance use, mental illness are two of the big drivers, but antisocial issues, lack of employment, lack of education, lack of pro-social interaction. I mean, there's a number of points that are measured. The idea of the reentry center is when you do that evaluation and you look at the three highest risk factors that are driving this person back into contact with the criminal justice system, all of the programming is specifically designed to address that person's three highest risk factors. So the goal is that, and we measure that when they come in, and we measure that when they go out, and the goal is that we provide them with tools to address those risk factors, whatever they might be, so that when they get back in the community, they break that cycle of reoffending. So as far as statistics on our success, we've wanted to do a study for a while. The only study that's been done was done 5 years after we opened. We hired a consultant, we did a study. And so to summarize it, and it's on our website, anybody can go and look at it. And what we did was we tracked every person that had gone through the center and post-release up to that point and looked for any arrest for anything, no matter what it was. And our recidivism rate, people reoffending, coming back, was about just over 30%. So
How long ago was that?
5 years.
5 years after it
Only
opened,
after
so
5
like
years.
2015, I believe, 2014, yeah, because we opened in 10, so I think it was 15 we did it. So when you look at the reentry center is designed, it's not designed for low risk offenders. So if you get somebody for a first time OUI, they've never had a criminal history before, the reentry center really isn't appropriate for those individuals because they don't have risk factors that are high enough to say that they're going to come back into the system. We're targeting people that are coming back into the system over and over and over again, and those are the people we focus on. So we're looking at those people that are the highest risk of reoffending when they go back in the community. Our recidivism rate was around 31 or 2%, if I recall. And when you look at the national average of people released from prisons across the country, it's closer to 70%. So when you just start looking at statistically what we're doing there, there's success.
And that's
two
what it
different
was
kinds of
doing.
people.
Yeah.
There's people that look at statistics and they love statistics. I'm not that person. I'm much more of a personal story kind of guy. We live in a very small community, and when you police it for 30 years, like I have, you know a lot of these guys that are coming through the center. You've dealt with them, you've dealt with their families before them. And I know a lot of these guys that have gone through the reentry center, sometimes a couple times, but eventually forget it. And I'm friends with them on Facebook, and I see them getting married, going back and living with their family, raising their kids, engaged in employment, doing recreational stuff, the things that normal people do without getting arrested over again.
Absolutely work.
And so to me, those are the stories when I look at people that I've dealt with my entire career and now they're on a path to live a life and not come back to jail. Those are the victories that I look at personally and say,
Yeah.
man, this is working. Because at the end of the day, our system should be really designed to benefit the victims. I think we've lost our way in recognizing that that's what our system should be designed to do, keep victims whole. And if I can get one of these guys from the reentry center back in the community, adding value to the community is not offending, then I'm preventing victimization. I'm preventing someone from getting their stuff stolen, or getting crashed into because they're drunk, or whatever that might be. So some of the benefits of the reentry center are difficult to quantify, because when somebody goes back into the community and they don't reoffend, you don't have anything to measure as far as a crime. But if they're not committing a crime, that's really what you can measure, and that's what that study did. Internally, we've had conversations for years about renewing that study to look at a bigger base of people that have gone through to see if we're staying consistent at that 30% recidivism rate or whether it's fluctuated, but that would cost us some money, and we just have never budgeted
This
for
is the thing, the reason it would be good, I mean, in some respects, not this year, obviously, but it's because you do know and you do see it.
Yeah.
So we have to rely on you to
Yeah.
tell us this is working, because all we see is a number.
Yep.
And we
Oh, I get it.
we don't, so, and if there's a study there, then we can say, oh, wow, this does work. But
I'd
it's-
encourage you to look at the one we did in 15, and then if at one of our next budget cycles, not maybe this one, but
Yeah.
if we decide that we want to fund that, I've talked with BOA and asked them repeatedly to try to find grant funding,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
one grant they haven't been able to secure for us, because
That's-
you're right.
Do you know how much it
I
costs?
think that's just so important.
It would depend on who you engage to do the study and just how broad a study you want done.
Uh-huh.
When we did the one in 2015, it only cost us like $10,000 because we
Mhm.
used a consultant out of Bangor that was a former correctional administrator that we had engaged for other things, and she did it, and it was a sort of a limited
Yeah.
study. And if you were to go out and hire Muskie or somebody
Mhm.
significant,
Sure.
the cost goes way out. So it would really depend on how broad of a study you wanted to do.
Laura, you have.
Who you
Yeah.
asked to do it.
That's just gonna say, I mean, I think it'd be great to hear that in the future. I don't necessarily think that because it's 5 years later and that's when you first started, that it would be better, given the amount of drugs that have been allowed into our state, and the crime in our state. And while I appreciate, looking at trying to help these people who break the law, you know, probably you and I, our soapbox would be a little bit different. And my soapbox is for the young families out there who are working hard, who obey the law, who are overburdened year after year on every single level.
Mhm.
And so to see some of these services and the rides that are given, that I think, you know, to different places, and the help people are given. And then I look at our senior citizens who are sitting there and really struggling, again, law-abiding citizens.
Mhm.
I mean, this, you know, some of the times when I get into budget work, I get discouraged at seeing, wow, what is spent. So I would think in the future, this kind of stuff, it would be really worthwhile to know if it's actually working, or if it's just the, you know, the route that you take with your personal beliefs of law and order.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
Just a
think,
comment.
you know, the budget committee is really tasked with looking at the county budget and trying to make sure that we're not wasting our money on
Yeah.
things. And, you know, I was set back on my heels when I first looked at this budget, and I still am, and I'm very concerned. But by the same token, the county has got to run, and we've got a responsibility as a committee to just make sure that the county's running, but not running out of control. And I think, you know, I don't know how much more we can get out of the sheriff.
Yeah, I don't think the sheriff is running out of
No,
control, and I
no.
think it's also providing
Well, who knows?
some of the most valuable.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to put out there with the VOA and you saying getting rides for some of these inmates, my mind went to, well, if they end up hiring that out, that's a job for someone in the community.
Mhm.
Being a community-based person, if they end up providing a job for somebody in the community, that's a job for somebody to get and money for them.
And another question I had, maybe for the commissioners, the opioid settlement. How could that opioid settlement be used to provide
Yeah.
at least you know, maybe some money for the shots, maybe some money to help the sheriff move people who have a problem to get the help that they need?
So, Bob, I'll kind of make my own comments here. Betty can make her address her comments. The opioid budget, we're gonna receive $1.6 million from 2022 through 2038. We've all in, I think, $620,000 is what we received so far. We've spent about 150 roughly in 2024. And so you take that off the top and we're sitting on $500,000, give or take. So we're waiting on that standing committee to be stood up with committee members, bring the business plan to us along with the budget, so we can figure out where is that money best spent. One of the things that I put on the table with the sheriff was that potentially, and I think Matt Magnuson too, is that those shots, I think we can take that out of opioid and straight pace tests and nobody would blink. So I think that's where one of the things that we can take that money and apply it towards the shots.
But the task force needs to buy into that idea.
Well, we approve it in the end.
Okay.
We're it.
So
No.
does that mean we could reduce that amount?
How much money have you got in there for shots right now?
400.
100.
How much?
400.
400,000.
And the only thing I'll just say with that is.
I hate to pre-spend that committee's, what that committee's
Yeah,
job
that
is.
goes, that
Right.
flies in the face of the whole
Well-
point of having this task force
Correct.
to make a
But
decision
maybe
like
the
that
task
today.
force is a bit too late.
But
I'm,
Yeah.
you know,
if I could just offer my thoughts, so Matt kind of alluded to this earlier when he talked about people working on this and possibly next year being able to get this down. So as part of preparing this budget, we've had conversations. I talked to Matt about it because Matt's chairing that committee and trying to get that done. And I talked to the commissioner about the possibility of using opioid funds to offset that. And I have my personal thoughts about how that could get used, and I don't know how the committee will feel about it, or the commissioners ultimately will vote. I've shared my thoughts. When we were talking to Somerset, they have been able to get some grants to get some of their cost of the shots offset. So Matt's looking into that, like, could that something?
But those grants are specific to their population, not
Yeah,
ours.
it's not
We
for
have to be
everybody.
clear on
No.
that. We can't
Tap into that grant, it's specific for them, but we thought, well, maybe we can get it. But when I was getting ready to plug this number in, the conversation that we had was, if I anticipate a specific amount of money from opioid or a grant, and then it doesn't come in.
Right.
Then how
Yeah.
far behind do I fall next year? And then how do I explain that? So.
Yeah.
That 400,000 is what, worst case scenario, we're going to spend if. Somewhere along the line, we don't get any opioid funds, and if we are not able to secure a grant, even if we are able to secure a grant. When does that grant cycle open?
Mhm.
When does it close? When does the money get dispersed? How much of next year might get impacted by that, or how little? And so that's why we put the 400, because it's worst case scenario, hoping that we can offset some of those costs. But I think it would be foolhardy, at least from my perspective, to put a number in there lower than that, and then those things don't materialize, and I run however much under, and then we've got a situation where I gotta come back and say, find me a bunch of money here.
Kevin,
So I have no problem saying, my vote, when it comes to that opioid fund, I'm gonna fund some of those shots. Now, what that number is, I haven't figured out yet.
sure.
1.6 million over what,
Yeah.
12, 14 years
Yeah.
is
Not that much.
nothing. And it's not gonna move the needle, 5 points or 10 points left or right. Will it move the needle? That's what I'm looking for. But I have no problem saying I will take some money out of that opioid funds to go for the shots, period. Now, what that number is, I haven't got my head around that one
And we
yet.
need to remember that when we come back next year,
Sure.
when we talk about underspending, that all that needs to be in context. Why did we why did we underspend? Because
Did we
often,
spend because we got a grant
Yeah.
through in the
Yeah,
course of the
that's
year?
great
Right.
news. It's not because we budgeted poorly.
And the language in that grant, I think, is having written hundreds of grants and applied for hundreds of grants, millions of dollars through 3 decades. The language is pretty loose. Now, will the state statutes, the legislative tighten the language on that? I don't know, but you
I
know,
mean, that's the whole thing with budgeting. We don't know a lot of things and we have to.
it's a lot of
come up
what
with
ifs,
the best answer we
you
can.
know.
Betty, you have.
Right,
comment?
I agree with Kevin, I think, opiate money should be used for opioid stuff.
Mhm.
And those shots, but again, using the full amount, not knowing when another lump sum might come in. And we're obligated or we committed to, fund these, and then we don't have money to do that, so, but to put it toward this now, I would be in favor of a certain amount. How much, like Kevin said, we'd have to crunch the numbers and
Mhm.
see what would be safe to add to it.
You know, one other thing, Bob, just so the budget committee knows, we have a third warrant that we approve every 2 weeks and it's opioid. Carrie, it was originally going into our general fund, when those checks would come in. Now it does not. It goes into a separate opioid checking account.
Everything just for
Opioid, and every expense is a separate warrant coming before the commissioners every 2 weeks. And if it's zero, then we stated zero in the minutes. Because there's been a lot of pushback about where's the opioid money going and everything. We just want to be transparent, have the optics clear on this. But I just want to be clear, it's a separate warrant.
So we're not solving that today,
No,
but we can have a tiny bit of.
but we could,
I want to come back to the VOA.
Okay.
Line. I am a believer in restorative justice. I'm nowhere near as well versed as Jason, but I am very well informed. And I am a supporter, but once again, this particular budget has pushed me beyond things I ever thought I would say and do. And I think that it's important as it is on a number of levels, and we've heard good explanations, good points brought up by the committee. I personally cannot support that 42,000 additional request in this budget.
when you say that 42,000 additional requests, we're looking at the VOA line?
Yes,
The.
47.
The sort of justice.
Always oh, you can't,
well, I'm okay, so. maybe
okay,
I'll-
I see what you're saying.
You're right, 4027.
Restorative justice,
Yes,
that's what,
yeah, I'm sorry, yes, I said it.
That was made up of additional
Hours.
hours and driving and stuff for things that we're already doing the things. This is to do more of the things. This
Are we
42,000.
correct in that, Jason?
I just want to make sure you're talking about 4025.
No,
No, I said it wrong, 4027. 42,000.
Okay, so the 42,000 so for many years. Restorative justice has been paid, that 42,000 has been pretty constant for a long time. And it's always been part of the VOA contract, so. And we had VOA basically managing the deliverables from restorative justice. Because of the fact that it's created the conflict, and Matt Magnuson asked for him to oversee the deliverables, we chose to pull the restorative justice contract out from under the VOA and set it to the side in its own line. They will answer directly to Matt Magnuson. What we did when you look at the VOA line is consistent with last year. So we backfilled the 42 that we took out for RJ. We backfilled it to do the other stuff. So if you're looking to reduce the 42,000 for the drivers and all of that stuff, you would do it in the 4025 line under the VOA contract, because that's where we will pay VOA to add the additional hours for the driver, the CADC, the recovery coach. We just basically, all we did was we pulled restorative justice out of the VOA contract and put them on their own.
But if you,
But the numbers are flat.
yeah, if you say you pulled them out of there, that implies that there would have been a reduction to the VOA line.
And that's why I'm saying that we backfilled that
But
with
what do you mean by-
$42,000 for increased driver hours, increased. I read through the list of things that we're, so if we have 465,000 and I pull 42 out for that I was paying
Right.
restorative justice, I pull that out over here.
Yeah.
And I want 42,000 to replace, I want to add 15 for a driver, 15 for the drug counselor, 15 for a recovery coach, 2.5% for a cost of living increase in the VOA side for their people and for the services they provide. I backfill that 42. So the VOA contract remains flat at the same amount because I'm adding services under the VOA, but I'm setting restorative justice to the side.
So they're doing more under VOA.
I'm doing more under VOA.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm
And they-
setting, I just pulled restorative justice and put them in their own line. We've been paying them
Okay.
all this time, 42,000. They just had to get it through the VOA contract. I'm just setting them in their own line and then I'm backfilling that 42 I took out with this additional service.
So those additional services that you're saying aren't the same services that RJP's been doing?
No, very different. RJP does not provide a drug counselor, recovery coaches. The cost of living increase would go to the staff of VOA. No, that's not. Restorative justice has their own mission, their own deliverables.
It looks like Mary might have a question.
Well, it's very confusing because when we look at 4025 VOA reentry contract.
Yep.
It's flat at 459
Yeah.
all the way across.
We haven't changed it for years. We've kept it very constant for a number of years.
So how does?
But if you take 42 out,
Yep,
why is it still
That's
459?
the additional
That-
service.
because we wanted to provide, we wanted to expand and add 15 driver hours,
Yeah,
5
yeah.
hours for.
Okay, Okay, okay.
So we're expanding,
You would expand what VOA is doing
right,
to the tune of
and
42,000.
at the same time, you're calling attention to RJP in and of itself as
Yeah.
its own line
Yeah.
to better monitor that.
So they will not be a
Manage.
subset of the VOA contract. And we won't have a nonprofit trying to manage the deliverables of another nonprofit. It's just been very problematic. So RJP will. They sat down, Matt drew up a set of deliverables for them. Matt is going to manage restorative justice in their own lane and in the VOA contract and their deliverables in their own lane. It's separate, so they're not trying to one supervise the other, basically. It's why we pulled them out. I mean, let's face it, there's a certain amount of risk when you do that because now everybody's wanting to have a conversation about RJP and 42,000 in that line, but
Yeah.
it's just being transparent about where that money is going and how we manage it.
Okay, so Tammy and Doug both have questions. Tammy.
So this was what this was, it's the 459
Mhm.
was $42,000 less because you pulled out the 42,000. Then you said, I'm gonna put this back in because we need this, and this,
Correct.
and build it back up to the 459.
Put it back to basically where it was.
It was for two
And that's-
different sets of services.
Two different sets of services, and that's why I said if you look to reduce that 42,000 and not expand those services, you would do it in the BOA line, not in the.
That's where
RJP.
you added stuff.
That's where we've added stuff back into the
Doug?
BOA line.
How much does it for a typical inmate, you arrest them, hold them, detain them, everything?
Yeah.
How much does that cost on average? Just a ballpark.
Well, if you. Be hard to quantify, because here's the thing, I mean, we do like 800 intakes a year on average. Some of those people might be in the facility for 2 hours, they come in, they get booked, they bail right out, they're gone. you might have somebody that's in for a period of time. So if somebody comes into the 72-hour hold, then they don't really ever cost us anything in the boarding rate. But if they stay beyond the 72 hours after they're arraigned, then they start costing the boarding rate. So the only way to, I guess, to come up with the numbers, depending on how you want to slice that pie, you could look at the total number of people arrested or incarcerated, take the total overall budget and divide it, and come up with like an average cost per day per person that has been arrested for the year. But it's disproportionate depending on how long that person actually spends in the system. Somebody that spends 9 months is obviously going to cost us way more than somebody that spends 2 or 3 hours.
I mean, just looking at it one way, your budget request is, call it 4,800,800 people is what, $50,000? So if you can prevent one person from coming back on average, that's gonna be, you're gonna save more than 42,000.
Well, it's part of what we talk about.
If
when we look
you
at-
can prevent one person from coming back.
Or incarcerating them. at all,
Incarcerating
you know?
them.
That's
And
why we
chances
tried-
are, the repeat people are the ones that are gonna come back.
And that's why we try so hard with some of these diversion programs, because we do recognize the correlation of how much it costs to keep someone incarcerated. But to the sheriff's point, it's just, it's all over the place.
Right.
You know, it's, you know, we have that daily, we could answer like, well, it depends on how many days they're there, and we're paying $138 a day. But then plus medical. So I wish it was that simple, because the other argument or the other point that I would make in that is, just because I arrest one less person, I still have to have a brick and mortar facility. I still have to have.
All your fixed costs.
Right, I have a lot of fixed costs associated with that. So it's, I wish it was that. I wish I could go out and like put a bounty on people and be like, I'm gonna save $50,000. I'm bringing them to jail.
My
Right. Don't even get me going on boats.
My point is, for the overall budget of 4,800,000 people, your average person is gonna cost $50,000
That
plus or minus,
You could
okay?
look at it that way.
But if you've got a repeat person that comes in, you could easily spend $200,000-$400,000 on that person.
If they come back often enough and
If
they
they come
cost enough in medical and.
So
boardings and-
if you can prevent one of those repeat offenders from coming back, you paid for your $42,000.
Well, it's.
Yes,
I think.
You're not gonna necessarily reduce it, but you might prevent next year from having 801 people versus 800 this year.
I mean, part of this, to go back to some of the comments I think Laura had, some of this is philosophical. And she referenced my way of doing things.
Right.
The reality is the way I view things is I look at my role as a sheriff as enhancing public safety across the county. And I think any sheriff you elect may have a different view of how to accomplish that. I think investing on the front end in somebody that's a co-responder to prevent an arrest, hopefully, or having case management capacity to divert people from the system, or post-release case management to keep people from coming back. I find those an investment in increasing our overall public safety. It's part of that conversation we had about, as a system, as a country, we value incarceration. But we don't want to pay for it because it's incredibly expensive. And we use our criminal justice system as a de facto mental health facilities. And so I think as a society, we have it asked backwards. If the community as a whole thinks that we should just treat everybody as in a way that gets arrested in a warehouse and spend as little as humanly possible, that absolutely could be done. We could absolutely do this for less.
Well, you wouldn't
But
have been
then-
elected if the community as a whole thought that.
Right, but my point would be that there are ramifications for creating a system that's functioning that way. As long as the community is willing to live with those ramifications, i.e. that person just getting arrested and costing us a pile of money and then going back into the community and reoffending again, then that is, so.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is, I think if we spend a little bit in prevention, it's gonna cost us more. And that's not just the jail time, you know. If you get a, we had a guy in Liberty that had 16 OUIs. Okay, 16 of them. He'd never done time. And I knew that one of these days, that guy's gonna kill somebody.
Mhm.
So, you know, we just looked at the numbers here. You can save money by preventing some of this. That's just the jail cost, but. You know, somebody gets killed, somebody ends up in the hospital for months, spend $300,000-400,000 in hospital bills. You're saving dollars by having this VOA program.
I personally, believe in the system we have. And I recognize that maybe not everybody does, but just based on my law enforcement career, I find value in the way that we go about doing things, and I personally believe that it makes our community safer. And that's why I'm passionate about it and why I argue for it. But I also recognize that other people value other things, and I recognize the pressure on the community and the taxpayer, and I think that's why we're all sitting here doing this diligent work, trying to reduce that impact.
Okay, so we kind of got a lot of good information, but we got a little bit bogged down too.
Mhm.
Do you have any more questions? Does anybody on the committee have any more questions for the sheriff on the corrections budget?
I just don't, I didn't take good notes originally. Line 4022, professional services for $5,000.
Professional services.
What are those?
So that's, I believe, the line that I've asked to be transferred to, I believe, to,
Is it facility?
finance, because it pays for our ISOL, our portion of ISOL, which is our payroll and management system. They've been charging us a portion of that contract, and so I think that's gonna get moved into under finance.
Payrolls.
So let's go down the numbers now
Okay.
and see where we stand. And what I'm gonna do is use the red department request 12 months.
Yep.
So for 3,000 full-time personnel, we want to make that 1,458,911. And then the next line, 9,500 or 95,000 community liaison. We'll leave it at 95,000. Part-time employees, that was the doctor. We've asked for a reduction of 15,000. But we're still showing the 1,500, 10,000,
Well, because it,
105,000.
right, I mean, that was his request, right?
Okay. So can we clip that 15,000 off the 105?
I think if you look under the budget committee 12-month, it does say 90.
Gotcha.
So it
Okay.
looks like
I can't remember why, but we must have convinced you the last time.
We did.
So we'll go with that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 90. Clothing allowance, left it alone. Overtime, left it alone. Educational stipends, left it alone. Pretrial services, still at 186,790. Inmate medical surgical, we now have at $450,000 with a hope that we might be able to use some opioid funds to reduce that. And I guess I would ask the commissioners to consider that before our next meeting to see what number you would feel comfortable with. And I understand you don't have your committee up and running yet. But
So you want a soft number?
I want a
Yeah.
soft number.
Okay.
If we can.
I wonder also if related to that, we might be able to express something to the task force about that, like maybe formalize some kind of request.
No, they will.
Okay, all right.
Can I also, while we're just on that line,
Yes, ma'am.
I do remember when we were talking with Waldo Cat and problems with the public transportation and how there were so many people knocking off, you know, actual disabled people,
Mhm.
sick people for getting their
Another
Yeah.
place to
Yeah.
put
Right,
the opioid.
that was another
Yeah.
place we specifically
Right.
talked about
Opiate.
So transportation for opioid.
Right.
Yeah.
Specifically
Yeah.
out of opioid.
Yeah,
Out of the opioid
I
costs.
think you're right on the
I
money.
just
on
want
that.
to say, those seem to be the two big things that we've noticed in this process.
Yeah.
Your shot, transportation,
yes.
okay.
Um,
I'm gonna keep going, medical insurance, 10,000.
and that's malpractice.
Yes.
Right, for the doctor.
Yep. Um. Professional services, 5,000, we recommended nothing,
That got transferred to
To pay,
finance.
that was that payroll
Move to
software.
finance.
move to finance. Okay, so it's out of this bill. That's it.
It's already in the reduction line.
I guess we've talked the OA thing pretty good, leaving it at 459,000, restorative
Could we
justice.
take a vote on that?
Did we or can
We
we?
haven't, could we?
We could if that's what you want, or you make a motion.
I would like to make a motion that after extensive conversation. This is gonna be two parts here. We reduce line 4025 VOA reentry contract. By 42,000. So the number would be reduced from 459,000 to 417,000. And that we leave line 4027 restorative justice contract RJP at 42,000.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh, do we have to do a roll call?
Is she on?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Right, so
Our cameras.
got everybody on now?
There she is.
Oh, there she is. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Brandy, are you in favor?
Yes.
Yes. We'll go this way.
Yes.
No. Yes.
Yes, no, no.
No.
Okay.
So what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, no. And 5 and 4 yeses.
1, 2, no, I thought there were.
Oh, those?
He's
Okay,
no.
that's-
Yeah, no hold him.
No,
Not hold hands.
Okay,
Five.
okay, 5. I can't go.
So 5 no's.
For the 5 no's, yeah, I know.
Yeah, 5.
So the motion does not pass. So 4025 stays at 459,000. Restorative justice stays at 42,000. Inmate boarding, we have at 1,500,000. Okay. Mileage, leave it 500. Gasoline, we have it 15,000.
It's on here at 20.
It's,
We had,
we had taken 5,000 out of it.
We agreed last meeting to take
Yeah.
5, reduce
Okay,
it
but
by
it's
5.
here at 20.
I know. So that should go to 15,000.
It has been corrected under the budget.
Yeah, the green side.
It is, yeah. Vehicle repairs and maintenance goes to 7,000. Life skin services, 1,000, dues, 925, postage, 300, printing and engraving, 250, food. We've got it 52,000. Okay. Books, periodical references, we've got it 0.
Yeah, we
We
agreed to
Yeah,
basically eliminate that line.
yep. Kitchen supplies, we set it at 1,000. Maintenance supplies. We take it out because it goes to facilities.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
line that goes to first, yes.
Office supplies, we're leaving at 6, training 1,250. Officers' uniforms, we took 1,000 out of that, that's 9,000.
Training is 12,500.
That's what I said. Well, training is 12,500. Uniforms, at 9,000. Uniforms inmates at 1,000. Capital outlay at. Why did we have 8,891?
That's the
That's
kitchen,
before.
yeah, it just didn't get,
Oh,
they were getting, so that changes today to 38.
to 38,
9, 10.
9, 10.
Yeah.
Okay. And then county garden. We're leaving at 122, 620. And that's an estimate of state revenue funds down there. So that we'll have to add the numbers up again, but those are the.
I got it.
So,
Yeah.
we got 81, 384.
80, what are you talking? Oh, you mean that, I wasn't adding up the requests, I was
Okay.
adding the budget committee line. Where, so the 4926 goes to 4867, 556.
4867.
556. And then the bottom line grand total after the revenues, the anticipated revenue is 4078,663.
So the only thing we ended up changing after 2 hours, I just want to get this straight, in the kitchen.
No.
So
Today,
And then the full-time personnel.
I think you may want to go back and double check the math, because if we only allocate 1.9 instead of 2.1 total, then that should be a reduction automatically of 200,000.
Oh, the 2-1 didn't get changed in the budget.
Yeah, you
Thank-
want to change the 2.1
No,
down.
I missed that, that's to
1.5 and
1.5.
with the added, so it
Oh,
should
right,
be
so
a,
that takes out 600,000.
should be in excess of a $250,000
Or 260,
decrease today.
556.
Okay, I'm gonna wait till the final report.
Sure.
To get the totals, but we know the individual details. Thank you. And did we have anything on the, well, we've got you here, Captain.
Oh,
Do we have anything on the sheriff? 1075.
Did you come with 3 things for this one too? No?
Oh. I'd be happy to talk about any line you would like, though. I've got. Thank you. Full commissioner.
The line, 3005. Full-time personnel. We had that at, 222. I'm sorry, 2,222,370. Okay. Oh, it is reflected in the budget committee. Okay. All right, any other questions while we got the sheriff?
Still get. Sorry.
Somebody got a parking ticket from Belfast? Oh, no.
So I have a question. Robin, you said earlier that with the budgets had gone over under by 500,709. Which departments are those?
Yeah,
The big ones.
yeah. Well, big percentage wise. I
Big
think-
dollar wise.
Big
Yeah,
dollars.
big dollar wise. Is. The. TAN interest. And employee benefits and jail. Those are the big dollars, the biggest dollars that as far as over budgeted.
And those make sense as items
Over
for
budget.
budgeted, yeah,
Underspent.
yeah.
Right. And that's, consistent. For both years. The other one is the communications center. The ones that I just mentioned were all over $100,000. As far as under budget, communications was 87,000 over budget.
I would just point out in something like with communications, I know that they ran vacancy. they were in some vacancies for a while, so like if you're shorthanded for a bit. You know, I mean, you're with salary and everything else, that would be like,
That would go under budget,
Yeah, well,
because we do in the budget, we try to budget for them to have.
Even if they're under vacancy, you might have to pay people overtime.
right, well,
Yeah,
there
sure.
again, but we, you know, we specifically. Generally, we try to respect those numbers, some, we'll have conversations with the commissioners as department heads.
Yeah.
If we do have to offset that,
And,
but,
and this year's budget, at least if it's annualized, it's coming very close. Everything this year. Well, it's weird. If that's a word for it. Yeah, this year employee benefits appears to be over budgeted. And
Over budgeted.
over budgeted. The budget's 2.4 million and year to date we spent 1.7
Yeah.
and annualizing that is 2.1 million.
Part of that is just so you know, I think there's a figure in there of $400,000 that because of the gap insurance, the overinsurance, the reinsurance from the prior year. We don't know what that number is, and so it carried over into 2025. So we're trying to figure that one out. And get
Okay.
it closer.
Cause yeah, the employee benefits was 77,000 over budgeted,
Yeah.
underspent, put it that way.
Okay.
And 189,000 underspent in 23 and 24 respectively.
Okay.
And this year so far. I'm lying. It looks like it's gonna be, it's on track to be $300,000 underspent.
Okay.
Okay.
But the others, the only other one, sheriff this year is on track to be like 200,000 underspent from the budget. Which, and this is just, all I have is the bottom line number, so I can't. You know, I didn't go into the individual lines, I just took department totals to compare, but.
And I'm not sure where we would be underspent 200, we'd have to look at the individual ones to have that conversation. But
I can,
I can certainly, oh, go ahead, Matt.
no, I, in one area I know we will be a little bit underspent with, in capital. This year, just because of when we were able to, when we switched to this system of leasing cruisers. Historically, we had to write a check up front. And now that we're moved to this model here, we don't actually pay until we take delivery, which is, and we don't take delivery till it's completely upfit. So that was, you know, that's a new process we're working through, so there. I could probably explain maybe even upwards of half of that based upon that. This year.
That's that capital outlay.
Yes,
line. Yeah, it is really,
Is there anything from the coming budget that can be finalized before you've underspent this year's budget?
I'm sorry, I don't quite follow.
Is there anything that we're planning on for next year that could, that we could get in time to use this year's budget for?
Oh, I could absolutely, you know, yeah, right, no, again, I'm being sarcastic, I just, my default mechanism, I'm sorry. No, I mean, I have spoken to Patrol Lieutenant about that and just, you know, I'm aware that's gonna be there. You know, that may be I could go ahead and start, I don't know if I could get a cruiser in time.
Yeah.
You know, we try to be pretty thrifty. And it's like I said, it's a matter of working out this other system.
That's all right, if you can't spend it, it lapses into the.
The general fund.
Into the undesignated fund.
I'm not gonna cook the books on that, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be
Yeah,
pretty sure.
right.
No, I just meant like if it was
I hear you.
planned
It's like.
and it didn't happen this year, and so we planned it again for
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, no, I can't think of any capital
Okay.
projects like that, so you're probably gonna end up with.
Anything else?
so I guess I would ask still about the capital outlay.
Yeah.
Because I do remember last year, like we've been running, when you look at the actual expenditures, you know, around 250,000 the last couple of years.
Because there's gonna be,
But we were buying, right?
Yeah, it's
And that we were going to these lease arrangements, and so it's gonna be a lot lower this year. It's still like they pointed out, it's still lower, but I noticed, so like this year we budgeted 114,239 for capital outlay. And the request is to bump that up to 187.
Sure. But I have to pay for this year's leases, you know, it's that compounding effect. I have to budget for all of this year's leases because it's
So
spread
you-
over a 5 year.
You leased a car, now you got leased
Right,
5
Yeah.
cars.
Right.
Or whatever it happens to be, right? You
Okay.
had 10, you had 5 before, now you've got.
Now I'm gonna
10.
have, now I'll have 10 next year, I'll have 15, following year I have
Yeah,
20,
no, it'll go
until
up.
I get to that 5th year. And that's just easy figuring. I mean, if you're doing a food management program, there might be a year that I lease 8, there might be a
Yeah.
year that I lease 3. You know, as far as,
right.
Yeah.
But I did have this question. I remember it in our previous meeting when we talked with you.
Yeah.
What's in the lease arrangement? Because the maintenance and tires doesn't go,
No.
it didn't seem like those.
They
was
manage
changed.
the tires and the maintenance for the department. The leasing company.
yeah, it'd be no different than you leasing a car, you're all, they're not gonna.
never-
No, I'm just saying, they're not gonna give you tires and service. I mean, you might, you're
Oh, okay.
gonna pay
They
for
cover it
it.
in
one way or
lease
the other.
then. It's just like renting it, like renting it. owning it.
We pay regular payments, so it's the vehicle and all the equipment that goes in it.
Okay.
That's what they pay. I have to put tires in it, have to do the service to it. The beauty of doing a program like this too, though, is, you know, if we can have more vehicles that are under warranty, that we should be able to have some control over that vehicle maintenance line. If you look at that previous request, that vehicle maintenance line has not moved as much as, you know, in better fuel economy. You know, the fuel line and the maintenance line have not moved in accordance with, you know, to use the word inflation. They haven't moved as egregiously as some of the overall budget lines would I expect. Despite having more expensive bills when we do get them to fuel further by running. Water.
Right,
Let's get the sheriff
okay.
and Matt out of here and on the street.
Gotcha.
Right, right.
Yeah, they come.
Thank you.
Are we all?
I think we are.
Thank you
Well,
for your time and
yeah.
efforts.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you, guys. Sure. Yes. Take a look.
Bob,
Yes.
so I'm sure I've asked this before, but I've forgotten.
When
When, like, say the sheriff or the jail has a
See that
remaining
again.
balance, and you say it goes into the, do they have their own capital reserve, or does it go back into the county general fund?
It should go into the county general fund unless the commissioners say, oh, we need to take this much. That you didn't spend this year and put it in some sort of reserve.
So you gotta keep your eye on it.
No, and that is actually. I just, that's, you know, now I'll say this, like, there's been years, I'm going bad, reaching back, I'm just been years, like, hey, I didn't.
You want the copy?
spend
No, that's all right.
$10,000 in vehicle maintenance, and I will come down and make a request.
This is one that
That, you know, vehicle
yesterday.
reserve for
Oh, really?
me. Just though
This is the one that was
if
in
we
the
have a
packets
vehicle
today.
related, and it would, but otherwise.
Everybody's.
But they're packed, they just read through there.
And so
Yes, for us,
they handle
reserves,
this.
yeah.
Not,
For us,
you never see them.
For us, reserves have been a pretty sketchy area, and
Right.
including the designated fund balance,
Okay.
which is,
We'll get with her.
for me,
So you
Cause
look at
a lot
there
of-
and see.
Yeah, that's it.
because.
Yeah,
Have you got
They're
church
not
here?
supposed-
okay.
they're not supposed to
Are you looking
have.
at sheriff or are you looking
at-
designated fund balance.
Sure.
And they should take the remainder of our.
The jail's okay.
Oh, okay, all right, I see. I don't have one of those
No,
from the
there.
sheriff.
No.
The
Sheriff.
sheriff.
For sheriff, just real quick.
That number.
We don't
For like
do
what,
that
the final
because
number?
they
Look
wait
at,
for the auditors to tell them.
Start at 54
Here.
or 5.
Yeah.
Running into that would just.
Yeah.
Something.
I think there's a mistake. Look at, start at 5405.
Payment on all.
Go to the green column.
Credit line.
Yeah.
Because.
Go to 50 and go across.
So it's like.
So when it was brought down,
You
it
know, it's
added
not like-
1, 2,
but it's
each
just
of
instead.
those.
Yeah, we've
So
got
this
a
is-
major issue with
This is
the
a major
sheriff's,
error right here.
sheriff's
Under
Budget.
the
What?
budget committee.
typos.
1075 office of the sheriff.
Hold on, let us get all
Okay.
with you.
Under the line for the
Thank you.
budget committee recommendation, if you look at the bottom,
Thank you, Betty.
it goes 19, 201, 202, 203.
If we're
So I
running them.
don't know what happened at the bottom of that under the thing, but it's.
I think Carrie like
When it was
just
carried
got
down,
tired of the whole thing and
they
just passed out all the people at that point.
It's doing.
I would-
On the sheriff?
Where it's just
Yeah.
renting.
Yeah, if you look down in the commissioner recommended
What's the
line,
difference?
go to the
Go ahead.
bottom, you see it says 19, 2.
Yeah, just look up.
It's just incrementing.
We'll bring that to Carrie's attention.
Okay, thanks for finding that.
But also, I was still trying to look at the full and part-time wages. With the, again, with the personnel sheet.
Okay.
So
Was that
On which side?
anything originally
Patrol or-
that-
Well-
We adjusted that last meeting, we would have done.
Well, that's supposed to be. That's supposed to be.
Well, the part-time wages on the sheet for line 3100 on the budget sheet overall says 2,500, but on the personnel
1, 2, 3.
detail sheet,
Yeah,
it looks like the part-time personnel, I'm confused.
Let me see what they.
Yeah.
Are we
Here,
talking about the
this said
corrections
part-time
budget?
Personnel,
Sheriff,
Sure.
so are they,
These two guys are not put in, that's a different figure.
are they in this number, the full-time number? Because part-time personnel down here is.
We'll have Carrie check the cell.
Just
Yeah.
links to that over there. This is not in there because you see this is a detail 0259.
Yeah.
These
See what
numbers are
happened
not in
on-
that number.
They were
because
manually entered.
That's money in,
Huh?
money out.
They were
That's a
manually
detail
entered.
account. Those guys are paid for through civil process paperwork, so revenue we take in goes into that account. And then their payroll
Yeah,
is
yeah.
paid out of that account, so we don't ask for an
just
allotment.
carried it never down, but
Okay.
added
Are
one.
these two and
$1.
corporal
Yeah, but
or
they were
CDL?
manually entered. I don't know why.
Full
They were
vacancy
made
at
to-
5% above their deputy. What I'm saying is, what I did is,
They fixed.
I have a promotion to make that's 5% above a deputy. I have it budgeted as a deputy's position in there
Oh.
because of who I have. I didn't have room for
Oh,
a
yeah.
person.
I'll let her.
Okay,
I have to promote one of those people
right,
and that I wanted to account for the pay discrepancy in there.
okay, so,
Oh, sorry.
so.
hot soup.
Yeah.
So it's
Also
the.
for you.
So these are not in any of
No.
these totals, it's the 4,300,
What the 300, what?
the corporal.
Yes, that is part of that.
And that would be the full
So
time,
if you look,
that should be in.
great. So,
What account is?
so if you look at this, so if you look at this annotation down here. Reimbursed, computer crimes task force, RSU 3, Maine drug enforcement, RSU 22 in the town.
Yes.
Civil service, so you can see that's the offset for that, and if you go up here. Like I can, so like,
So all of this offsets all of it.
yes, these offset, all like anything.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, CCLT, you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
so
what
all
we're
of
all.
them, so adding this up
Mhm.
and taking this out should come down to these
Yes.
numbers that are down here. No, sorry, that was bad.
Right.
As far as the full-time, this line. Taking these guys and subtracting from these values.
Mhm. So if
should
you
give
wanted,
us this line.
you should,
Right.
yes, if you wanted to just, for the sake of like.
Well, I mean,
Xing-
because that's how they show up here.
Yep,
So
I-
trying to support these
What-
numbers, that's all.
Yep.
Okay,
if you took a ruler and you're like, oh, just lost it. So, yep, cross that out, cross it
well,
out down here. I'm just, you're just, it's that offset
Right.
thing, and that's how they ask us to prevent it. So I mean, that's a formatting thing, how they ask for that.
right,
But this will be the total of all of this.
okay.
Okay, this 2,322, and then you subtract it all, that's what you get the 2,176. But if you have
Well,
to add
plus,
these.
because you have to add these,
you have
that's
to add
like that
those. Yeah,
whole total, which
Yep.
isn't, this number 2177 is not in, it's broken out
because
as
they.
these
broke it.
guys minus these, and then these guys are
Right,
separate.
these are the
Right.
line items.
Okay,
Yeah.
You okay, Robin?
yeah, I still haven't recalculated because I know the prison one, sorry, jail.
Correct.
They didn't add up. Corrections, oh, I'm forgetting which was the right word.
So in the corrections one too, just remember like those ones we had to do. They're in the middle of a contract negotiation. So we just, we were given the number by the commissioner and was doing the negotiation, so it's like,
Right, but we still had a full suite of
absolutely. I'm
best
just-
estimate numbers.
So
It just,
if you-
the
if
way
you
they're
have
presented, it
questions-
makes it really hard
I
to
don't disagree with
directly
you.
support.
I don't
This is
disagree with you.
educational statements, all the personnel members match.
So they
this
do,
sheet.
Except
Okay.
for the educational stipend.
Oh,
The
educational stipend.
is included. And the sheriff's office is included in their pays.
It is, so
In 3005,
It's all in the full-time.
It is
Yeah,
because
3,000.
there was in the current contract. It went from a annual payout at the end of the year to an hourly bump, if that makes sense. So instead of getting $500, they're gonna get a quarter an hour.
Oh, right, so
So-
they're not in the
So
budget.
that's why it's,
That's why.
that's why it's presented that way.
So the full
Passing you another
time,
class.
Okay.
it's gonna have all of these.
Do I have to circle yes or no?
No.
Yeah.
Conversation,
And
maybe at some point.
Die.
So.
Any
I
other
spelled
questions?
sheriff wrong.
We keep
Uh-oh.
Always get the R's in the.
going once, going twice. Fair warning. All right.
So-
All right, so that's right. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, man. And I'm still in your same boat, Mary. It's crazy, but I don't know what more we could do to trim it down. Well, maybe 42,000.
But you voted no.
I know.
So there, yeah.
Moving.
Sorry,
Son, we're running.
I would.
Right now.
So Jason, I guess you're
All right.
next
Are
on the
you ready?
agenda. Third.
So before,
Information that.
before he gets up there, so. I'm very confused by the sheet we were given today. This one.
It's,
So the column on the
Sheet
far
that-
right. Budget reduction, 12 months.
oh, is that?
And
the
I
hands
can't-
out? Oh, no.
Which,
1035 information technology.
Oh, we're in, sorry, I'm still trying to do the sheriff. I'll go back to this. Oh, no. Three, five.
And you're confused with what?
I'm confused, very confused. The far right-hand column in red ink that is headed budget reduction 12 months, 2026.
we've cut the entire thing.
Seems to be the same as commissioner requested in blue.
Oh, yeah.
And that, something's wrong there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the green column.
I don't have a green column.
Yeah, exactly. So
right,
that's
so-
an error.
Yeah.
Well, we did start to go over this with Jason and we had some questions on the detail.
My math was off.
Pardon?
My math was off on a few of them.
Okay,
I'll take that blame.
so.
Well, we
need-
got corrected information, detailed corrected information from Jason
Yep,
last time. The updated.
updated
Very
numbers.
detailed
I deduplicated
explanation.
some numbers for you. And then I'm gonna offer to take 6 months off my 18-month budget, if that'll help. Just gonna throw that out, just. So,
Thank you for getting that wisecrack out of the way right
Yeah,
up front.
you're welcome.
All right. So. As it stands right now, at least on this sheet,
Yes.
you've got a request for 899,031.
Correct.
And the commissioners have said, hey, we want to request 943,719.
That was before my reductions, but I didn't think I could change what they had already approved.
Yeah.
So,
And
Saying that we reduced it 943, 719. That's why you're.
we
confused.
didn't.
no,
So that column's incorrect. I'm just trying to see. Have you guys gone through the detail?
Somewhat.
Somewhat.
I mean, it's everybody here. Can we wait till Kevin comes back? Because he has IT background and I'm sure has been very involved.
who?
Kevin.
Commissioner.
I've met him once or twice, yeah.
And did you ever get those? So we found out the first time you were here that a lot of the budget had been paid out of some
I'm
capital.
working on that. It is a
accounts.
long process to do because everything is just out of one account. So I have to go through each line item and say, where would this have gone out of these new line items?
Right, so we don't know what was.
I'm
big
working on it, but it is a
last year.
long process and then also trying to make sure doing my day-to-day job. So I'm working on it for you. I haven't given up. It's just not a quick process.
Oh, and then I had another question on the jail. Did you get the assignment to,
Me,
no,
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Danielle.
Danielle, did you get the assignment to come up with the jail budget? So we can compare the budget this year to the actuals from the budget and the actuals in the budget from last year? Because a lot of
Oh, one had
accounts,
been moved out and.
a lot of
back in.
accounts have been moved all
Oh,
around.
yeah, Carrie gave me a paper. Give me a second, sorry.
Sure,
Wow.
while we're waiting for Kevin.
So maybe if we had if we ever had copies of all of those capital reserve accounts, we could see perhaps where IT was paid from. So I was gonna ask Kevin that if
Oh,
if
where,
the budget.
where it was from?
Well, yeah, if the budget committee ever has access to the
Sure.
balances in all these capital reserve accounts, and like at the end of the year, if the sheriff's department has 200,000 left, if you tend to put that all in the general fund for the county, or if you have start a capital reserve fund for them, and I don't know how we're supposed to know, accurate.
I agree
Yeah.
with you on this one here because, well, I know we combined, I think it was 5 facility accounts to one facility account. And so where the money.
We're still working on that.
Yeah, so that's one of our workshop meetings this week coming up. But I can tell you where the money was moved from in the previous years, I'd be scratching my head. Some stuff I think was accounting by Excel. That was like the $150,000 that came out of the opioid fund, that 140 went to the jail. We know it went to the jail. I can't tell you where.
Wow.
Did it go to pay for housing for Two Bridges in the MAP program, VOA, with their programs and jail specifically? We know it went there.
Mhm.
But that's the problem we've got with this accounting system is
So you don't know as of today, like
1.9 million.
where or how
And there is,
IT was
I don't,
paid
no
for
idea,
from, okay.
no idea.
Next meeting, are you able to just give us all a copy of every capital reserve account
Oh, yeah.
and the general fund and what the balances are?
Yeah.
Great,
Oh, yeah,
thanks.
yeah,
Yeah, but you can't do anything with it.
yeah.
No, I'd just
One
like
of the
to know
things,
how much
column I
is
want to
paid.
add on there is, and I wanted to talk to Carrie, was FDR, not FDR, the president, but financial director's recommendation of what that,
Yeah,
because we might say something different.
yeah.
And the finance director might say something different. So where's the neutral ground on this issue, so we can have that for you. That's no problem. Back to you, Bob.
Okay, well, let's let Jason take us through then.
All right, how do you want to do it?
So I want to make a statement.
Okay,
Okay,
Sorry, seems to be my day. So Jason came to the county with great experience. He's a fabulous addition to the county staff. There's no question in my mind on any level of that. My challenge in this particular budget and the great increase in this year's request for the budget from this department is probably one of philosophy and greatly involves, I'm sure, conversations previously with the commissioners. I come with baggage of what the Belfast budget is. We have a different philosophy, and that affects how I react
your perception.
big time. We contract this position, and I am not questioning on any level, any question at all about the salary that has been presented for Jason. No problem at all. It's the difference in philosophy between contracting services and hiring services. And not the salary, but the other additions that get put into the county budget for various items that do not happen when you contract your service. The most simplistic one, sorry, I'm picking on this
No,
one, but
no, I'm listening.
the most simplistic one is the Motorola Summit. You know, educational, which
Sure.
it's important to Jason that he have that, but we're paying as a county that whole bill. When you contract your IT person, you're not paying for them to attend the summit. It's under a big umbrella,
It's part of their overhead.
part of the contract,
Yeah.
and so our contract that we pay is not penny for penny, but similar to Jason's salary. But we don't have there's a lot of add-ons as we go through all the explanations that we don't have because it's not a hired situation that we have to pay all his training and updates and all of that kind of stuff. We have, as a city, moved 13 years ago, we were on a 10-year turnaround of equipment. Somewhere in the last 13 years, we switched to 7 years, now we're on 5.
Yep.
So we agree on equipment importance, 5-year turnaround. I tried to go through our budget and pick out every like item that we have. And for Belfast, telephone, internet, we have cable TV, but you don't have the same equivalent there, so we had that one addition. But our total budget for everything I could find that was similar thing is $370,451. And that's the current fiscal year, July through next June budget. What I did just to try to get an updated, because we're looking at a 6-month FERDA budget in our discussions here, I tried to do a proration. I did it on a year. That would bring us in just a straight numerical proration to 446, which is 6 months beyond what this is. So somewhere between the 370 and 446. So let's call it 400,000 is our total budget of everything I could do that was like. There are additional county requirements and things, but in my humble opinion, a lot of this is things that I perceive as being beyond the current capability financially of the county taxpayers.
So I think the whole budget is.
Well,
But
yes.
what we need to do is ask Jason, are all of these things in your budget, things that are required to efficiently run the county? I think.
In my opinion, yes, I've tried to pare it down as much as I can. The only thing that I can see cutting would be some of the training line, but that bothers me because really training, we need to do some more cybersecurity training, because my opinion is in this day and age, it's not a matter of if we're going to get attacked with some sort of cybersecurity, but when.
Yeah.
And we haven't been yet, knock on wood, and I just want to be prepared for that. So, but that's my
Brother.
But so help me understand. How have we, this isn't all brand new
no,
stuff.
this has been paid out of reserves in the past 5 years.
Okay, so that hasn't been in the budget because we've been
Correct.
bringing down the reserves every year.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, I thought last time it was told not only reserves, but if something came up short, we'd take it from the TAN, no? It was just taken from
Wherever.
wherever, so we don't, yeah.
That I don't know. I know I would send bills down and they would
Yeah.
get paid. I
But
was
the
not.
the TAN note simply moves cash into the.
Right, but to me, I picked up on that because a couple of years ago, when I called the county commissioners, because when I received an increase in our county bill, the reason that I was given for that was because the interest rate on the TAN increased because of no doubt the fiscal year, but what I assumed is that the interest on the existing budget, not that the TAN was sitting there and, oh, we're running short on this for things that weren't on paper in the budget. And so that's, I don't know how we know how much is required for the budget from the TAN because we haven't had things on paper. It just seems
You don't know
very
how much.
confusing.
Well, I mean,
And-
I think what you're saying, if I could try to paraphrase,
Yeah.
is that you're looking at a budget now that includes all of the items that are necessary to run the county IT, which in previous years were paid from accounts that weren't reflected in the budget.
And therefore, we don't know what some of these accounts actually required last year, or the year before, because we have no record of what they actually cost the county. So we're looking at a budget that we can't look at a pattern of spent amounts.
That's right.
I have a question too of, Mary, you talked about the Belfast budget, but in terms of the scope of work, Belfast doesn't have a jail, doesn't have sheriffs, well, they have Belfast City, but in terms of the overall scope of work that IT is taking care of, are we double the size of Belfast?
Well, I was just gonna ask how many employees Belfast has, because I don't know. If you don't mind me asking, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just kind of curious.
It's, I'm not gonna get the exact number. It's a little over 100 full-time and it's
Yep.
about 147 if you add on seasonal part-time.
Okay, yep, so we're 100-ish full-time, so full-time would be about the same number. Do they have like city-owned cell phones, anything like that, employees?
There's a combination between stipends and owned.
Okay, all right, so that's similar to what we do up here. We do the county-owned cell phones just because of email and things like that.
Yep.
I don't know what they do. Do they do Microsoft like Office for the employees and things down there? Do you know?
I don't know all the softwares.
Yeah.
Some-
No, I'm just
some-
curious.
Some of them, I didn't have my full budget book.
Yeah, no, I was just curious.
But I
trying
pulled
to.
out all of the software costs and I just can't give you every software as you have it listed out. in your
No,
sheets.
I was just curious. I know one big difference is the Motorola.
Yeah.
Because that's like $200,000 or $180,000, and you guys don't have that, or you guys have that, but you don't pay for it
Right.
down there. So that's a big difference. So that's something that we pay for the entire county. So that's definitely something that you're going to see here, not
Yep.
in your
Yep.
budget piece.
Yep.
Is that
So-
like public safety
Yes, that's part of the public safety.
technology system?
Yes, yeah, public safety platforms. So. Yes. Yeah,
So
that's,
is the county, are you saying the county's paying for some of Belfast stuff?
so we pay for that for any police department that uses it in the county. There has been some discussion.
Belfast.
So there has been some discussion about whether we should be billing police departments and that use that or not. The former Board of Commissioners didn't want to do that, but that's up to them. That's not a decision I can make or want to make.
It's your 10-foot pole.
That's a political decision. I have given them numbers in the past and said, do with it what you want to do.
On Monday, Mary. No, just kidding.
I will be very honest. I can see both sides of it because as a taxpayer, you're already paying taxes to the county. So do you already pay that to the county as a taxpayer? But then again, as a resident of Searsmont, I can say, well, I'm paying the same taxes to the county and I don't have a police department, whereas Belfast is paying taxes to the county and they do have a police department. So
But I mean, the
I can see both sides.
same thing. The county has a sheriff's department and Mary has a police department.
yeah, so I can
You know.
I can see both sides of it. That's why I hand the information over and let the politicians take care of it at that point.
Why
So-
would we put politicians in
All right.
charge of anything?
So
It's above my pay grade.
Should we go through the budget? and we can ask questions. So I think we were okay. I think we're okay with the overtime and the personnel costs.
Okay.
With their-
This personnel is an additional staff person.
Yes, it's adding, changing a part-time to a full-time person and adding that into the full.
Question about that because I question that.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we've been through line by line with so many departments and they're not increasing. I mean, there might be a couple hours for a driver or something, but it's not, we're turning a part-time into a full-time, like we haven't really seen those kinds of staffing changes. And so I'm wondering why.
Well, we
We-
kind of have in different areas.
Yeah,
Because we've seen, like Carrie get, some people to help her, okay?
okay,
And, because of the heavy workload. And I
yeah,
think Jason's got the same sort of thing. He's
Yeah.
got a part-time person, but if that was a full-time person, he could, you know.
Take a day off.
Take a
Take a
vacation.
day off.
yeah, it's, and unfortunately, our finances are in more dire straits than our IT. So when I hear about getting more support for the horrible mess that is the county finance
Yeah.
system, I'm like, yes, please, let's do that for the sake of transparency and accountability to the taxpayers. So, what is it Jason gets to take a day off, or is it, which I'm very much in support of human
It's-
beings getting days off, by
it's
the way.
Jason
Or
gets
what
to-
will it look like when you get
It's-
that extra support?
It's, we get to get caught up on things and it doesn't take 3 weeks to address an issue that's not like burning something's burning down in 911. Deeds has been waiting on 6 months to get a system upgrade because I haven't been able to get down there because I'm dealing with 911 issues and I don't try to put them, in a corner, so to speak, but if 911's down, that takes priority.
Sure,
Their system is still running, but it's like, yes, I know you have these computers that are sitting in the corner, they're getting dusty, but 911 does take priority. It is also just to have a backup because if I decide to take a day off and go skydiving, there's no one up there that knows anything about any of
no
this.
skydiving is allowed.
You also get sick.
From time to time.
Yeah, you don't need to.
And I am currently on call 24/7, so I'd also like to have a night off every now and again too. So, yeah, it's just honestly risk management because, if one of the people in Deeds does get really upset and throws a monitor at me, that's.
And that person that you currently have part-time is willing to go full-time, or are you?
No, I need to look for
replacing
somebody
that?
new because they got
Okay.
done. So
Oh.
it's just me right now.
Okay.
So
Laura, you have a question?
So if we're taking that part-time to full-time, why do we need the overtime and how do we even know if in fact that department ever needed overtime before?
because it's the on-call schedule. So my plan would be to rotate on call with them. So I'm on call right now 24/7. So my plan would be to put them on call once they're up and trained to do like 1 week on, they'll do 1 week on, I'll do 1 week on. I'm salaried right now, so I don't get any overtime.
So if
So
something
the-
breaks in the middle of the
if-
night, you guys have to.
Yeah, I have to come in right now, but I'm salaried and I don't get overtime.
Yeah.
If it's on their schedule, they would come in and
Okay.
they would not be salaried, so they would get overtime for that.
Mhm.
And I shot high on that. I mean, I've knock on wood, haven't been called in for like a month, so, but,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
and I think I would let them know that, I've done this before and, if somebody knew if they work on something for an hour and they can't figure it out, they can always call me. I'm not gonna, be like, it's your week, too bad, that sort of thing, but.
Anything else on the personnel? Move on. Travel and mileage,
Yep.
that's all for, mostly for training, but you also take care of.
That's also inter-office, just because I use my own vehicle, so Commissioner Kelly, when he came on, said to put mileage down for that, because I wasn't getting it in the past, so.
Okay.
Driving out to Swanville to the EMA office, we do have training sometimes down in Augusta or Portland, so.
Okay.
Just that sort of thing.
Mileage,
Have you been submitting because year to date, there's only like $200 that's come out of the accounts.
Yeah, I just submitted another one too, I just got a check for 185, so, yeah.
So you really think that you need 7,500?
I put that in for my 8 for the in between offices, it's about 976. And then the travel down to the summit for like airline or plane ticket. I also included that, so.
Where's the summit?
This year it is in Florida, last year it was in Texas.
Okay. And you know the dates far enough in advance to be able.
It is April 18th through the 24th, I believe, this year, so.
And the lodging does not go in there, because there's nothing budgeted for lodging. Is this actually,
That I did have under travel and mileage, so,
Oh,
or,
okay.
yeah, the lodging as well, so,
so it includes,
the
And-
lodging, yeah.
and it'll be just you going down, or you're gonna take your other person?
Depends, because I have to, where it was a part-time position before, going full-time, I have to wait for the New Year's budget because it will affect benefits. So I can't hire until the new budget
Does
goes
this
through.
include them?
Do you include that person?
I have included them, but I don't know, depending on when they get hired. I don't want to have somebody here for a week and have them go down and not have any idea what they're talking about,
I think
so,
we could not include them
okay.
personally.
Yeah,
I just,
that's
you know, I don't know what that summit and
At least-
training is like, but I certainly, when I go get a training, I bring knowledge back to the people I work
Yeah.
with and try to share as much as I can. And
Yep, no,
my
that's fine.
colleagues do the same, they do as well.
Yeah, yep. So do you want to cut that down to the 3,500?
Yeah.
All right, let's do
Willing
that.
to go?
Thanks, Jason.
Sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
And then, you know, maybe better position next year.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
We can hope.
And then meals, 100,
Fine with that.
jail telephone, 2,400, that's for the prisoners to call out.
No, that's for, we have three cell phones over at the jail for employees. That was included in the main telephone line, but I took those lines over from the jail and
Got it.
Barry asked me to break it out just for those three employees.
Okay.
So that's
Telephone and internet,
Yeah, that is for our cell phones, office phones, and internet at all the buildings, as well as in-car internet for the deputies,
Mhm.
hotspots, all that sort of stuff.
And is that,
Sorry.
What's that?
is that gonna help with the problem you described around, when their systems are uploading,
Yes, I'm still
cam
working.
footage and then they can't do other things because of lack of service or internet?
Yes, I'm still working with our vendor on that as well as AT&T. I have a couple of test systems that I'm putting in the new vehicles that we just got to test that out. So I have a couple of plans, plan A, B, and possibly C to get that fixed. So Well-
And do we know why it's 42,000 increase this year?
because we are adding, we might be adding another device in each vehicle to give a second line if the video uploading has interfered with their laptop use. So if not, we're gonna have to buy a new device for each vehicle. So I average that.
so you either have to add a line or buy a new device?
Yes,
So it's an either or.
Yeah. and
And
that's
you
what I'm
figure
trying.
they're about the same amount.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out where the best road, what the best road to go down is right now. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Software as a service.
Yes, that is our Microsoft Office for each user. Adobe Acrobat we've got for a couple of users so they can do redactions up at the sheriff's office when somebody asks for a report and they have to redact somebody's name or a juvenile's name, anything else like that.
So why did the commissioners want to give you more money?
More money?
That might have just.
No, I think it's
Oh,
before.
that's-
Yeah, I think that was before I,
I gotcha.
yeah, so that was before.
I think that's gonna be the case with any discrepancy
Okay.
in that column.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I have a note in here that I had unintentionally added the Microsoft Office in twice to the 18-month period, and that's why it had gone over.
Yeah.
So that was my fault. That also includes, let me just make sure I'm on the right page here. That also includes ArcGIS, which we use for EMA to do mapping, and it also does mapping for our Motorola software.
Okay.
So.
Software maintenance and support.
Yep, we use that for a product called VMware. I'll try not to get too deep in the weeds, but that's a product that we use on our servers to take 4 servers and allow it to run like 30 different software servers. That's what we run everything on, our Spillman, our mail servers, our file servers, our GIS server, any server we have here pretty much. So it's allows us to take one and turn it into 10.
Yeah, now are your servers fairly current?
We're gonna have to upgrade those in about 5 years. That's, you'll see at the end that I have a, reserve request
Right.
to build that up over 5 years to upgrade those
I mean,
eventually. in
because
about
the
5 years.
problem that we've had in our town is that we've switched to Trio or trying to switch to Trio Web, but our server doesn't support it. So we've got to buy a new server.
Yeah, ours are under warranty for another 5 years, so we should be fine on that. So that's why I'm trying to plan ahead and build up a reserve. So in 5 years, I don't have to come back and say, hey, I need $500,000 for servers. I'm gonna try to slowly ask for it over time to build up that reserve.
Any questions? Oh, Robin?
What line is the reserve?
The reserve is gonna be in reserves. It's not actually on my line item.
It's in capital out. Is it capital out?
Don't you have a capital outlay?
I do not. It's gonna be under reserves and it's gonna be,
Oh, like a separate account.
yeah, it's gonna be 0265.
So this is strange to me. This just doesn't seem fair that this works different for different departments. I mean, I'm glad it's like, it's transparent and we're talking about it, but,
I don't know. I asked Carrie how that worked.
mhm.
And I said, my understanding is if I want to do a big project in the future, I should probably ask to fund a reserve.
Mhm.
And she said, yeah. And I said, okay, then that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, and so you're asking for 150,000.
That had been in
Yes.
place for a
Yeah.
long time anyway.
Per
the
year.
Technology. was-
Yeah, it's 150,000, 150, and then 200 the last
So it's
year.
been like
So
that
it's
for
500 total. It was my goal.
Okay,
Yes. So,
Yeah, it's just,
2045. It's.
Oh, so there's not, it's all in this department.
I want, when a taxpayer has a question about how much are we spending on a thing, I want that answer to be so clear to them. And they would have no idea to go look in reserves to see, oh, the IT department is planning ahead for these future projects, and then to get curious about that, and like, there's just no way you would know. And I don't know if that's like a policy thing or what, but I think that's part of our, like, the lack of faith that people have in their county governments, you
Yes.
know?
Kevin?
So this happened with Swanville because the budget for 25 budget went up 6.83%, but based on the, the property values by the state, their budget went up 20%, their share. So I actually, when I went out to Swanville at a town meeting, I brought out the county budget, the consolidated budget that shows the departments, and Cindy out there said, I've never seen a county budget. I
Yeah.
said, well, all you have to do is ask. We can.
Yeah,
put it
but
on
it's
the
not on the website, and that's kind of insane.
Yeah. Website is changing. The website is going to change.
It's
Yeah.
like,
But we can put it up on the website.
It's,
Our 21 financial audits up on there too. So
yeah,
in an org chart, things are changing. So
was changing. I have a very low tolerance for agendas, minutes, and budgets not being on any
yeah,
government entity's website.
we're missing 2 for 25.
Yeah,
It's so we know.
sorry.
We know which
my soapbox.
meetings they.
so would you rather see that in like a capital?
No, because it's not capital, it is reserves, it is
Okay.
planning ahead, but I just, what do you?
I'm willing to work with you on it. I just don't know how. I want to do it correctly.
Mary, you look like you have a thought. Or Katie,
There's a case either way.
yeah,
Usually that large a number would be under, I think, under capital, but
mhm.
which would be this equivalent of reserves. But it's terribly confusing when we're working on the budget and it's not part of the paper we're looking at. It's in your explanations, very detailed. You do great detail explanation.
But the reserves
But
are on a
it's not
separate.
put up. I mean,
If you-
Yeah.
if somebody
Job,
just brought up that
you wouldn't
question.
have to
it was
talk
gonna-
about that
Yeah, yeah, no, no.
Yeah.
No, so.
Mhm.
So really what you're saying is long-term equipment replacement maybe ought to be a capital outlay item that goes into a reserve.
At least for budget discussion, there should be something on the piece of paper we're working on at the bottom that is a reference.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the
please
bottom, you
see-
could asterisk it.
yeah.
Yep.
you could just say-
Please see line this for
Understood.
reserve,
Yeah, okay.
or note that there's this
Right,
in
right.
Yeah.
So that,
twenty
So that
forty-five.
you know it's part of the conversation.
and when that person's here, we will
Yeah,
be addressing
right.
that. So we don't
Okay.
have Hit
Which-
it, whatever deserves.
Which is not really this isn't really feedback for you, this is kind of like financial, like record keeping policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that makes
Which-
sense. though.
Yeah, which of course I know everybody's working really hard on
Right.
cleaning up.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So we've gotten through software maintenance and support.
All right, sorry, where were we?
Public facing
40
digital
45,
platforms, a really long way of saying the website.
It's the website. It's also FOIA request software, so people can make FOIA requests online, and we have an archive of FOIA requests so people can search those. Also, we're going to have videos of meetings, and so people can search those, and we have an archive of that. As well as we're going to put in social media archiving as well, and text message archiving, which we're supposed to have by statute. So I don't know if you folks know, there's a new DOJ requirement going in 2027 that your website has to have like, you have to be able to choose high contrast text, and you have to be able to choose all these different ADA options. And if you don't have it by like, I think middle of or end of April, that you can face like $75,000 fines and all of these other things.
Yeah.
So
April of next year?
yes, 2027.
So-
2027.
So-
No.
I get emails all the time from companies that are like, we want to fix your website for Northport to be compliant with the ADA thing, and what we're doing is we're getting well, our website isn't super complicated, but we are getting like a Maine capstone intern type person to basically do that for us.
County one?
Northport.
All right.
Yeah, so it's bringing us up to speed of where we probably should have been for quite some time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what's in the 77,000? Do you have specific?
Yep, so it is 45,000 for the websites and the ADA compliance, as well as the FOIA request software, meeting agenda and management, and then the rest is for social media archiving and text message archiving for our county phones.
Okay.
That is for example, if somebody made a FOIA request and said, hey, I want to see what this deputy sent for, a text message about this call he was on. And my understanding, I've gone out to every cell phone provider, and it's different with every cell phone provider, but some of them only keep text messages for like 3 weeks. We're supposed to keep them for 7 years. So if somebody requested that, I honestly don't know what would happen if we don't have that, but by statute, we're supposed to keep that for 7 years.
So are these basically annual licensing fees?
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
software?
exactly. Yeah, software licensing fees for that, so.
You have a question, Laura?
I was just thinking, so Jason, have you just had to go and do like a lot of work to get these figures? Because if you haven't had on hand, what's been in place, how have you come up with these figures?
So I've gone out and gotten quotes from companies. We've had demos by various companies. I've reached out to other counties, other municipalities to see what they've used. I will say that I've reached out to a lot of other counties on the whole text messaging thing. Because like with cell phones, some counties just let them use their personal cell phones, and it's like every law and statute, it's just open enough to interpretation of like, well, is that okay? Is that not okay? You know what I mean? And I reached out to, and I'm going to throw them under the bus, I don't even care, but I reached out to like the state police, and they were like, oh no, we just let them use their personal cell phones. And I was like, that doesn't seem legal. And I'm like, what if they're texting or emailing about, a case, or they're sending pictures about, oh, they don't do that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, it's in our policy book that they can't use it for work. I'm like, but what about when they do? And they're like, oh, well, then they're in trouble, not us. I'm like, oh, that's a really sleazy way to pass the buck, but okay. I'm like, that, whatever, guys. So, yeah, so we had to come up with some policies on our own and everything else like that, but also reach out because, CJIS, the Criminal Justice Information System, says that if you have a digital device, whether it's a laptop, a cell phone, or anything else like that, that could have any of that data, you have to be able to track it if it gets lost. You have to be able to wipe it remotely if it gets lost and you can't find it and all this stuff. So if you're a state police officer and you took a photo of a crime scene and it gets lost and they can't do anything about it, they're in violation, and that's through the FBI. So it's I'm just trying to cover as many spots as we can, you know.
I
but-
appreciate the job that you've had.
Yeah, and it's just,
So when I question you, it's not.
No, it
it's
is.
that we don't know.
no, and it's, you
Was.
don't know what you don't know, sort of thing. And it's one of those things where I reached out to another county when I first started to ask about it, and they were like, well, it's not CGIS unless it goes into your Spillman system. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. So I can go take as many pictures at a crime scene and it's not CGIS unless we load it in there. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't think that's okay, but okay. But I'd also rather err on the side of caution. If I'm being too cautious, that's fine, I'd rather.
So are most of your FOIA requests for police record?
We get a lot for police records. We get a lot down here through Barb for, I don't know if it's minutes. I don't know if it's contracts. We get things about contracts.
Stuff that should already be on the website.
Some things like that. We get, the 911 center gets a lot of things about phone recordings, 911 calls and everything like that, that they might or might not be able to release. I know the sheriff's office gets a lot of stuff about body cams and cruiser cams things, which is such a double-edged sword because once you have it, then you have to release it. And the way our cameras are set up there, you have a cruiser cam, which has 3 cameras in it. So if somebody goes on a call for an hour, now you have 3 hours of cameras to look over, plus a body cam. So you've got 4. If you have 2 people show up, now you've got 8 hours to look over. And if you have to redact anything, you have one
Who's
person.
the person who looks over it? You? look
No,
over it?
no, they have an admin sergeant at the sheriff's
Yeah.
office.
Okay.
But the way, and we've got to do some more research into this, but Maine has a law that you can't use facial recognition software. So if you go to a call and let's say you have a child there or a juvenile, and you just want to block out their face. So before you release this to the news, you can't use AI to block their face. You would have to go through frame by frame and block their face. So if you got an hour, you have to do that for 4 different videos.
Is that a state law?
It is a state law.
Have you talked to your state?
I have, and it's very much
Seems like
like
a reasonable exception to
it does. And I'm like,
that rule.
I get it because they don't want to store people's faces, but we're like, we're not storing it. We're literally just saying like 2 eyes, and our vendor Motorola is like, they're like, well, you can just say you're not recognizing your face, you're recognizing the person's head. And I'm like, that's a little too sketchy for me. I'm not going to go down that road. So, yeah, so the good intentions, I get it. The laws have good intentions, but at the same time, they cut both ways. So
They do.
yes.
Is it okay? Yes.
Yes.
I just.
Sorry, I don't have the.
No,
Yes, I guess. Sorry.
But, so all of these different line items for the different licenses and
Yep.
stuff. This isn't new. We already have.
The web page, the FOIA stuff is all new this year.
Okay,
Yes,
that
that is,
piece of that is new.
yes, yeah,
Even the video and social media.
that is new this year as well.
Okay,
Yes.
so this line is all new.
Yes, the public
And
facing
that's
one.
getting-
Yes.
That's why.
Public
you-
facing.
you
Yeah,
got
that's
your-
new. We did our own, we have been doing our own webpage. I don't know if you've been out there, but it is horrible and it's, yeah, it's miserable and I hate updating it and I don't even want to have my name say that I update it, but yes, it's horrible.
Right, so this one's all new.
Yes.
The previous 2 lines are not
No, those are
Those are
things that we've,
ongoing things
Yes.
we've been paying out of reserves.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Information technology security infrastructure protection, 8,138.
Yes, this has multiple things in it. Currently it has firewalls, antivirus, email filtering. We currently are under a 3-year contract for that, so we don't pay any of that this year. We paid it all up front. The only thing we're paying out of that this year is the camera monitoring system at the jail, which is the $8,138.
So this, okay, so the other stuff is on a 3-year.
3-year contract, yes.
Contract already paid.
Yep.
So we pay that. We see a bump every 3rd year.
Yes, and what I do is, we got a discount for the 3 years, so that's normally I like to look at,
Yeah,
and what I'll normally do at the end of the 3 years is technology changes so quickly, I will go out and shop other vendors, see what's out there price wise, availability, see what's out there. If this vendor is still, they've got a way they rate those vendors. It's called a magic quadrant. And they say like best bang for your buck, best, best this, best that. I look at that, I'll get some demo from vendors. If we want to stay with this vendor, I will, but if not, we'll shop around again,
Right.
so.
Any other questions? All right. Let's move on to, I guess it's digital asset disposal and recycling,
Yes.
$2,400.
Yeah, so we use a company out of Waterville called Give IT, Get IT.
Yeah.
They come up and pick up any older technology that we have. We have to wipe the hard drives first, and then they go and actually physically shred them. We get a certificate that they've been shredded, and they pull any mercury, any
So you have to maintain those certificates and something?
yeah, we do again for CGIS requirements.
Yeah.
And just because they have had criminal justice information on them, we have to maintain them, I think, for 15 years.
Okay.
But they truck them down there, recycle them, since you can't throw, I think it's against Maine state law to throw any of that stuff in landfills, so.
Sure. And then you want 1,000 for office supplies.
Yeah, just again, if I hire someone new, I'm just putting that in for a desk because I've got like an old lead-filled World War II desk, so.
Right. Training is the 6,000, that's for the Motorola,
That's for the
or additional.
one part of the Motorola, that's about 1,000, so I can cut 1,000 out of that if you want, if I'm not sending a second person. And then cybersecurity training would be the other part of that. So if we want, we can put that down to 5,000 if that's okay.
Let's do that.
Okay. I'm okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Everyone.
All right, public safety technology systems and licensing.
Yes, so that is the Motorola software. That costs us $183,703 this upcoming year.
And then the extra?
The extra is for, we have the sheriff's office gets new vehicles. I think they're going up for 4 or 5 this upcoming
yeah.
year. And when they do that, we have to buy a new wiring harness for their camera system. When you go to pull those wiring harnesses back out of it, it just shreds the wires. So we have to buy a new one, and that's $1,000 for each vehicle. And then we also have in 2021, when I first started, the Motorola system server we were on was running an old operating system called Unix, and we migrated to Linux. This year or last year, we got a bill for that migration, which was 4 years late from Motorola. And I said, I can't imagine we didn't pay this, but we have not been able to find a record that it was paid. Motorola was not able to find out a record that it was paid. I personally think if they bill you 4 years late, you shouldn't have to pay it. But I have not been able to find any law that says that, so.
Looking for statute of limitations.
Exactly, but I have not been able to find anything, so if anybody knows of that, let me know. But I pretty much told them that I can't pay it this year, so I am putting it in my budget year next year to finally pay, and
How much is that?
that is 13,000, so.
13K for a really old bill.
Yeah.
5 years by then.
Yeah, exactly, but I told them I was not going to try to find money this year to do
That
it.
was in line 5507?
That is in 5506.
Okay, I'm confused because the Motorola was 183K and then there was like several thousand for the harnesses,
Yeah,
but then that add like,
Oh, it adds up.
that adds up to way more than 191.
That's not, that's
Yeah.
gonna
No.
be next year's budget. Not
No,
this year.
this is what he's talking about.
183, sorry, let me do my math here. 183. Sorry, I need a separate sheet. 183.
It's just, it's too. Next year, this year, that's the budget year we're talking. 2026.
Oh, I thought he was gonna hit 27. Okay. I'm saying it's good.
Well, you know what? I'm going to stick with the 191 and they'll have to deal with it. I'll make it work. Motorola on their back bill.
You just say, right, since they waited.
Yeah, they'll deal with it. I'll pay them what I have and they'll
Yeah,
get over it.
here's 10,000.
Yep, exactly.
We can pay them.
I'm like, oh, that wasn't the total? Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Okay, technology, hardware and infrastructure. This is not in your reserve because it's wiring and facilities
I'm not trying to take anything out of reserve.
for this.
Yes. for anything.
It's also hardware.
It is, but it's
Eventually-
laptops, desktops, wiring, all that sort of stuff. So
So the reserve you're building up is for.
just
server-
servers, yeah, this is just gonna be four big servers and two big storage arrays in 5 years. So, yeah.
All right,
So this is network switches, wiring between the two buildings, the sheriff's office and the comm center. We need to run, some fiber optic wiring between those two buildings because we have one wire that goes down and we don't have any backup. I'd like to put a backup up there. I'd like to get, some second monitors for folks. We have some printers that are running on their last legs, so I put in 4 to replace some of those. And then 8 network switches and some replacement batteries for battery backups.
okay. Questions? Computer technology and supply accessories. You got-
I combined that into the line above.
Okay,
So that's why that line above went up and that one disappeared.
okay. And that's it. Any other questions?
Jason, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, because since this is my first year
No,
seeing
you're
your
good.
face,
You're good.
sort of thought that this was your first year. but
No, I've been
you-
here since 2020.
Okay, so then why you don't have then a copy of what you submitted last year for a budget when,
So my budget last year was personnel,
right?
just my pay and phones.
Right, and so, but how did the commissioners know how much extra money was needed to pay for all these other things?
So I worked with Carrie and I said, this is what I think I need to operate on for the year. And the commissioners just said, okay, we'll make that work. More or less.
Commissioners, I'm gonna say, that just seems like such a crazy way to do this. I'm just saying, for someone like me who just wants to, see a trend, this is extremely, Weird.
There is no trend. But we have to go into each budget, each department and see where some of the technology was needed, like computers and different things like that. So, it was in several budgets.
yeah.
So this is the first year of Jason having a budget for this. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a start.
Yeah, it's just weird to
It'll be
me, I
tough.
guess, that the budget committee
Right.
wouldn't have known last year, had the knowledge that actually the IT budget, that a whole lot more money was spent in this department and that nobody at this table would have known that.
So was there no conversation about, things like software as a service, for example, last year?
Wasn't everything kind of like spread out through the departments last year?
No.
I think.
No.
Didn't you
No.
just kind of combine everything this year?
That was-
We had telephones.
About reserve.
We combined telephones a few years ago. That was combined into separate departments. But everything else was just coming out of reserves or.
Just unbudgeted paying for hundreds of $1,000s of software
I think we
licenses.
just didn't really right when
We didn't have
say
the
it
full
was
budget.
going
Yeah,
out of
no.
reserves, we just
It's
weren't.
not a criticism of
Yeah.
it. No,
No, I
no,
will say,
Right.
we just it's about how that information is presented without the full picture.
yeah. Now, one thing I will say is software as a service, like the Microsoft licenses, up until probably 2 years ago. I don't know how familiar you are with Microsoft, but Microsoft, used to be you could just go out and buy Office.
I
like
call
on a
it mine actually.
Yeah,
Surplus.
you could go out and buy Office on a CD and you could run it,
Yeah.
for 20 years.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, they started where you had to pay for it monthly.
Yeah.
So probably up until 2 years ago, we were just running Microsoft 2013, I want to say, or 2017, whatever the version was.
Choice, but.
And now,
Great.
so we got to a point where we were running an email server, Microsoft Exchange on site, and it was no longer supported. So we had the option of spending, I want to say like $400,000 to put a new Microsoft server on site or go to their cloud-based one. It made a lot more sense to go to their cloud-based one and pay a monthly fee, which included Office. So was a big expend for us, but it made more sense because we didn't have to buy a new server to do it, buy a new operating system, buy that sort of stuff. So that was a new fee in the past, probably 2 to 3 years or so. So
I guess what I would be thinking is, say, I wouldn't want to be sitting here 3 years from now and have another committee member say, hey, how did we not know that this wasn't in the budget? Because how do we know that there's not other items that you folks are paying for through capital reserve accounts or the TAN note that are essential, but that we don't know about?
I mean, that was that.
I said
We
at
had
the
that
beginning,
discussion.
Bob, I said at the beginning that we would put all the information on the table. And so like capital reserve accounts, you want to see them,
Yeah.
we'll put them on the table.
Okay.
You know, when it comes to software licensing, you know, I'm used to the for-profit side and the not-for-profit side. And non-profit, then your Microsoft licenses are extremely cheap. You know, just so, you know, a fact there, but, you know, I'm used to running budgets that you can run a budget. You can see the history. You know, you can see,
Yeah.
well, okay, we're over this line here, but we did it for a reason. And I'll give you a classic example is the professional line in the commissioner's budget on the legal bills. We got hit with a legal bill due to one personnel issue out of the gate, $28,000. That was, wow. So now if you want to talk to an attorney like the sheriff's office, he will call me up and said, we got this issue. I go to this attorney. Because that was one of the things that Betty put on the table out of the gate was who's the list of attorneys and what's their hourly rate? There's different attorneys you go to based on their expertise. We weren't getting the Muni rate. The Muni rate's $260 an hour through Rubin and Whitchell. And I went to them and signed them up. I said, we got Rubin and Whitchell now. So, you know, I agree with you. It's like, how do you run a business? And this is a business without knowing the numbers. And technology is one of them. You know, I pointed Jason down. I said, I want to know the licensing cost per employee, you know, and what softwares do they need to do their job? And we're not just giving all the softwares out to everybody. And so there's checks and balances now. And I think, you know, if we haven't hit on everything, here's another account, severance account. You know, that one hit us pretty hard too. And because that money was coming from all these different reserve accounts, and it was, no, you should have a severance account. You can figure out pretty much when somebody's going to retire. They're in zone 23 to 25 years. They're going to be tapping out. You just figure out when, because they're probably going to retire. And so you got to book some money for that and budget for it. But that's what we're trying to do now is get these numbers on the table for you. So you're actually acting as a budget committee. And I think for a number of years, the budget committee wasn't even staffed up with, you know, the right amount of people. So, you know, in this day and age, you know, especially when we're talking, you know, the Suboxone or the depot shot for opioids, you know, that comes from outside the country. So when the tariff's 100% and we're shooting for 1,500, all of a sudden the tariff takes it to $3,000, then you should be having a line item so you know that you paid more than what you expected and what's the reason for it. You know, because, you know, I have to go back to 8 towns and explain what's the reason for the budget increase. I mean, I tried to go to Winterport the other night and just Maybe couldn't make it, there was no quorum, so that's okay. But, you know, I say, look, here's where we're at and where we're going. And if you got questions, I'll come to the budget, I'm still on the budget committee in Winterport, but I'll come to the town council. I'll be right on the video, I don't care. Here's what we're spending and here's what we're doing. So, but, you know, optics, transparency, that enough information, overwhelming information, so you can make an informed decision. I've sat on over 23 boards up to $360 million. And trust me, I've had to turn the stones over here to try to figure out things. But I walk in with a different set of eyes. You know, we got accounting issues and we put it right on the table. And if I can get away with not getting a material hit in 23, I'm going to start going back to church and lighting candles. I'll tell you that right now, because that is a serious thing for us to experience. I don't want us to be in Washington County's position, you know, with the taxpayers, period. You know, if I miss something, I'll admit it. I missed it. If I made a mistake, I'll admit it. You know, at my age, I'll take the hit. I'll take the hit.
forward to this process next year, because I think we'll spend a
Well,
lot
it's
by
high
dealing
opening.
with this frustration that we're having right now.
If you read the paper this morning, there are people who are presenting to legislators who are saying the counties ought to vote on their budget.
Yeah.
And if that happens here, you're gonna be just like the school budget,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. But you know, but this, you know, but you know, if you look at the cost drivers, it's the sheriff, it's the corrections, and it's the medical benefits are 62% of this $18 million budget right here, right now. And so the medical benefits are going to take time to tease out. I mean, we just discovered, I think we saved another $27,000 per year on one of the broker fees that was hidden. So that brings it up to $67,000 a year. There's one thing that we're working on, might save in medical benefits, might save $30,000 a month. So we're turning stones over. But you know, I appreciate this process because, you know, I might be sitting here quietly, you know, on my hands, but I'm taking mental notes going, you know, that's a good point. You know, and so how do we explain this back to? You know, because we have no county administrator, so it drops right to the commissioners. And so I think you'll find that us three are here more than other commissioners, you know, for other counties. And, you know, we're all vested. That's the bottom line. We're vested. We want to make sure we get our best bang for the buck. And trust me, I got another union that wants to meet Thursday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning about benefits. I'll be having my sugar high by 8:05. I'll tell you that right now. So.
Bob, I got a line item question
Sure.
to get back to kind of nuts and bolts on the technology, hardware and infrastructure 5507. I heard things about, you know, second monitors and some equipment upgrades that I wonder if we could get that line item down a little bit, just knowing that there's necessary upgrades in equipment, and then there's some things that are like, you know, we could live without that for a year. I've bought a monitor before for jobs.
Let's see here.
Line item, wrong.
5507. Well, let's see here. I'm just looking, sorry.
I see three figures here. No, actually two figures. The 114,500 and then 110,700.
Let's what if we
You can move
did
those two lines from your recommended into the one in his current one.
Okay.
what if we did 99,000?
That's better.
That work for you?
That
Sounds good.
I like the 99. That's good marketing right there.
Okay, that's what I was going for.
Okay, so let me ask the
98 cents.
committee. Other questions?
We're not
for
supposed to
Jason?
put cents in, otherwise I would have done that. 99,999.
Any other questions for Jason?
The only other question I have is 4508, but facing digital platform.
Yep.
The commissioners have 75, 129, and you have 77.
Yeah, so I had originally left out, there was the company we're working with, Civic Plus, to do our webpage and to do our meeting recording and pretty much everything except for the text piece. I had left out an additional fee. There's a per meeting fee for doing captioning on the meetings, and I had left that out, so I had to add that back in.
Okay.
So I apologize about that.
Other questions? All right, thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you. And if you have any other
Oh,
questions,
let
give
me
me a
go
call.
down let me go down
Okay.
what we got.
Yeah, sure.
So, overtime, 5,363, personnel, 160,722. Meals, 3,500. Well, I guess that's travel and miles. Travel and mileage, 3,500.
Lodging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I thought Jason ate pretty well.
No.
$100 for meals, jail telephone, 2,400, telephone and internet. 148,453. Then 56,4506, 105,014. 4507, 69, 259. 4508, 77,069. 4509. 8138, 38, 8138. Technologies assets disposal, 2,400. Office supplies, 1,000. Training, 5,000.
Yep.
Public safety and technology systems licensing, 191,066. And technology, hardware and infrastructure, 99,000.
I'm getting the new bottom line number. 878,484.
And I added it up and got that number too.
What was your number for 4506?
4506. 105,014.
And did you want to talk about the reserve?
It's 150,000.
Yeah, that was my ask.
That's your
That's-
500,000.
Over 3
Over the
years.
3
Built it
years.
up over 3
Oh,
years.
3 years,
Yes.
right?
That's the first year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
And
150 and then
that's-
it's 200.
Ah. And that was the server.
Yeah, so what we've got is we've got
At the end of his.
we've got a production environment and a disaster recovery environment, one in one building, one in another building. Each one consists of 2 servers and what's called a SAN, it's a bunch of hard drives that stores all your data. And to replace that, I reached out to Dell this year, and the cost this year is 415,000. So I figured I would err on the side of caution, it being 5 years away, and ask for a little bit more.
5 years away?
Yeah.
Yes, but you broke it up into 3 years of. funding.
5 year from it originally purchased.
Yeah, 5 years
Oh.
from when we originally
Right,
purchased, so, yeah,
so 3 years left.
Yes,
In
yes.
3 years.
yes,
it'll
we'll
be
need to
5
replace
years.
it, yeah.
Well, I won't
Sorry.
argue that because that's the kinds of
That's-
things we should have been doing all along.
That's when the warranty will be up, is in the 3 years, and so, yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm gonna probably add a little bit, I know it's a little bit of fluff, but if we don't use it, it'll just.
We didn't add anything to a reserve for that last year.
No, because I was living out of reserve, so.
So if you remember, remember last year, Robin, when we asked about reserves, the commissioners figured that out.
So that's why I asked this year, that's why I asked Carrie, I said, Carrie, is this the proper use of reserves? And she said, yes. I said, okay, I'm going to ask to fund reserves, and she said, you are? I said, yes.
Yes. What a concept.
She said, okay, good luck with that. I said, "No, never know." So,
All right, well, thanks, Jason.
thank you.
So we never got your print, Brendan.
I know.
I printed them out, I believe, they're on Barb's table.
Awesome. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just didn't want to,
realize.
you folks were busy discussing things and I didn't
Yeah, I
want
ended
to.
up forwarding it, Robin, I ended up forwarding it to him because I could not get it to work with the JPEG and
Right.
it's so much smarter than I am.
If you want to pass those that way.
Very fresh.
Pass these this.
No.
So the skinny one.
Thanks for doing that, Jason.
It was a month. Looking at 2020.
I'm not this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's compounded each one. But on each one, so this is. The interest here is only per vehicle. This number is a combination of both of these raised in a month plus this one. I did ignore. Coming. The received amount here. So
Okay.
it didn't. Oh, and these are more copies for the commissioners.
I wasn't sure how many.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I already got that. Oh, you got this.
You're gonna type those up for you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, Robin, do you wanna? I know you kind of summarized it, but let's look at it.
Okay. Well, so the, means we'll look at, all right, that's bigger one.
The bigger one first.
Three of them. The one that looks like this. The overall
These are the
budget
reserve.
summary.
These are
What
what
is-
Robin.
Oh, the budget.
So
Okay.
I used the, here's another copy of this one, ended up. So for the one that's the 12-month committee, budget versus actual unaudited comparisons. Far right is 2023, middle is 2024. On the left is 2025's budget. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I have the actual year-to-date actuals from this guy, the period 11 that we got handouts today. I had those thrown in the year-to-date actual. I sent the wrong one to you. On top of everything. Sorry, it's just not complete, because the one that
Well, we have that information
yeah.
on
so
this sheet,
You could
on these sheets.
Right, and I had dropped those into that column and added another column to annualize it. And that's where I was saying that honestly, they're all very close to the budget. The budget line for this year, with the exception of employee benefits annualized is 2.1 million. And the jail annualized was 4 million. But, and I guess yeah. It's 200,000. The sheriff annualized is 2.3 million. And the communication center annualized was 1.3 million, so. County commissioners. Oh, and the district attorney annualized was 278,000. Those look like the biggest variances. Facilities is off by 20,000,
But if you look at the district attorney's history,
right,
she was off 3,514, 24,000. And
Right.
then we don't have.
Right,
the final.
it's hard to say. I mean, it looks like it might be 50,000.
But-
I can remember them being down people sometimes too, which is also,
Yeah.
because the person,
Because I did ask,
the wages is the biggest part of
Makes a
most
huge
of
difference.
it.
yeah, we did ask, could they do without that other person,
Right.
when she was here.
Oh, yeah, she said, yeah, we can sue you.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Or would
But-
be like Lincoln County.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and honestly, the corrections number, the 4.1. When I was looking at it, I'm not so sure that I picked up our budget committee in progress number correctly. Corrections.
But I mean, what this tells me that 529,000, the 701, those are funds that's $1.2 million. That
Can we have-
should have, no, I mean, that's the problem. We're working with incomplete information.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what the undesignated fund balance, beginning balance was. We know these two numbers, but we don't know how those numbers might have been used in the past to fund reserves for various reasons, including Jason's reserves and anything else that the county needed to do. So that's what that tells me.
Yeah, personally. If I could get our budgets to really reflect all the expenses and have offset receipts line in each, that would then tell us what the net was that we were going to end up having to, be assessed from our towns. I think that would be more helpful, because you can budget for saying, okay, it's gonna be these expenses, but we're expecting that we can get a grant that's gonna cover 30,000 or something, I mean, I don't.
Well,
I guess
every
my
department does it different. Because if you look at emergency management, he budgets his budget and then he adds on, okay, I'm gonna get a grant for this, I'm gonna get a grant for that. And we're gonna do these programs.
They'll get a grant. So,
That's
all the
true.
federal tax right now.
Right, and that's why it would be nice to see the actual real expenses they have to have,
Total.
right? Because if the grant doesn't come through, then you've got a budget variance.
But he may not provide the service if he doesn't get the grant.
Yeah.
Mhm.
they're-
You know,
Yeah.
okay, we had an emergency exercise a couple days
Yeah,
ago, whenever it was. And, I'm sure he got paid, he used a grant to pay for that, because he told me that, and,
But he might not have done it without the grant.
he might not have done it
Yeah.
without the grant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we didn't get the grant, guess we're not gonna practice, so. No, interesting stuff, though, a lot of work, thank you.
but it starts getting really
Yeah.
difficult to, right.
And then, did you have anything else you wanted to? highlight
No, I
about
guess-
this?
I guess not. I'll send out, actually, I'm gonna email everybody the actual workbook. So you can
Mhm.
see it.
Thank you.
Do stuff with it if you want.
And then this tan borrowing,
A TAN borrowing, so this is year-to-date TAN borrowing
for 2025.
for our, yes, this current year of 2025. And so we borrowed 3,992, right? And the commissioners, you want to estimate borrowing 6. Well, that's assuming it kind of all depends on what we end up with
That's
as
the
a
total budget.
bottom line budget, right? Which, on this year's budget of 13,600, and we borrowed 4 million, basically, right? I mean, that's the way I was looking at it.
Mhm.
That, so, if the budget goes to,
Well, if you just multiply 1.44 times the 4 million, you get 5,760,000
okay,
as required for,
Mhm.
as a required TAN.
and that's based on the 19 million budget that we're dealing with right now.
The one we got.
Yeah,
What
the
we
one we got sometime way back when.
Right.
The 12-month piece.
Right.
$100,000 different.
Right. So, and so that's just shy of the 6 million, and our interest rate is supposed to be, we're hoping lower, I don't know. I know we had written down when we talked about interest,
5.33 or something.
5.3 as the rate,
That's the
I used
rate you got.
5.66
Mhm.
for this year. And my worst case scenario is that, just looking down at the bottom line, based on when we actually, well, based on the fact that year to date, we borrowed 3.9 million, well, 4 million really.
Yeah,
That the worst case was if we knew that that's what we were gonna need, and we took it all last April. And, and borrowed 3.9 million for 8 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, before we could pay it back. That still came up to $150,632
Mhm.
of interest that we would pay for the TAN.
on
So-
6 million.
No, that's on this
On
this
this year.
year's, and we
Okay.
budgeted, what, 300 or 189?
So here's what I would ask you to add a couple lines to your schedule
Yeah,
and take 5,760,000,
right,
which is the 4 million times 1.44, and spread it from April through August based on the proportion that they borrowed this year. So if like in April, they
Right.
borrowed 20%,
yeah,
20% of that, the next year they would borrow.
But then use the 5.33 as the interest rate.
That's right.
right.
Oh, you didn't let me.
It's getting fun.
And that'd give us, that would probably give us a, more, I don't know,
Realistic.
reasonable approximation.
Yeah,
It's based on something.
Yeah, more comfortable.
Yep.
enough.
Yeah.
Based on something, the goal of the Waldo County budget.
It's rather than taking $6 million,
Yeah.
multiplying that by
Yeah.
0.33,
Yeah, totally.
whatever, so
It makes a huge difference.
it does. Okay, and then let's look at the jail one real quick.
Corrections.
Corrections. Collection.
We need collections.
We need collection.
New department idea.
So let's look at the bottom line and only. And we probably had some different numbers here too.
So the white is the stuff that left and the tan is the stuff that stayed. In the, what's the difference between the colors of lines in this?
The tan color is the stuff that had been taken out and that we just put back in. So all the white is what is now in the jail.
Except we were just told that County Garden isn't County Garden in sheriff?
Yes.
No, it's in jail. Okay, sorry, corrections.
Come on.
Correction, I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay.
So if we take the total. Well, what I was curious is what percentage did the corrections go up? So. I'm gonna use the green total, budget committee 12 months, which might not be 100% accurate. Because we've changed a few things. And then I'm gonna compare it to the 25 budget. Which is the second column. That doesn't make sense, does it?
No, that.
So why am I looking at?
We wanna know the total of the tan versus the white, right?
No, what I wanna do is I wanna see how much the total correction went up. Because there's a statute that says it shouldn't go more than. 5%.
Right,
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah,
have that conversation.
that
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least we can have the conversation. And if you're talking to your legislators, you can say, hey, our county budget went up over 4%. And, you wrote a silly law. Because nobody can.
Yeah.
It's unenforceable.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? So I don't know why. Oh, that's before this. Okay, I see why. So I'm gonna use the department totals. Before revenue from the state. Okay, well, it's still the. Why not? Current budget year. We're saying that our budget for this year was 6,227,000. And we're comparing that to. A budget of 5,512,000. That doesn't make sense. Anybody see?
I can see one thing, 5227 is maintenance supplies in the place. Which is gonna affect some of the, it won't affect the green, but it'll affect the.
And there's
Manufacturing.
two different numbers too
Yeah.
for the third column.
Oh,
Expended.
that, I meant to mention that. I had noticed in one, was it corrections or was it the sheriff? I noticed the supplies and that. Yes, the corrections, that maintenance supplies 5227. We had said that was supposed to get brought down to 0, which we did
Do an R.
do here. That's the 12,722. See, so that second line that's all caps is the corrections maintenance supplies.
What's the other one?
And where was the other one?
Oh,
It moved to.
It's the same, you get,
Moved to facilities, right? That the maintenance supplies in the jail moved to facilities, if I remember. Shift to facilities, well, it says shift to facilities in future, that's what we, so it should be in facilities budget.
so we actually, according to this, we decreased the corrections budget. The corrections budget this year is less than, there's
Yeah.
something funny here.
Yeah, well, that's what I was
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Not decreased.
No, I mean, the purpose of this exercise is to take all of the expenses associated with corrections.
Mhm.
And compare them this year to last year.
Can this be emailed to us? Because what I wanna do is I wanna get my hands in it and start filling in some of the blanks and. Like, to get a real total of like what was budgeted on these things in the other places that it got moved to. Right?
Tracy Ball.
Yeah.
Jason.
All right,
Yeah, maintenance supplies it's under facilities.
Yeah,
all right. Well, I don't think we can.
so it's not,
Right.
I'll get it.
Yeah,
so
thank
the
you.
reason it's there twice, right?
I can't wrap my head around this without a computer, I don't think, and all these guys.
I think it was an accident that it was added twice.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
Sure.
I would have to go back in and.
Yeah,
look
and one
again,
of
but I
those-
think it was added twice. The dollar amount was because I ran the appropriations report
Yep,
again. And so I think the higher number of the 14,4154 is the correct number
Mhm.
for expended this year. That's what I believe.
mm-hmm.
So we wanted everything that was taken out of it back into it, so we had
So we have a jail to jail comparison.
so-
Yeah,
we had last year's and this year's,
and from what I've seen in the jail, I don't know why,
it's less,
yeah,
yeah, it shouldn't be.
and I think. What do we wanna look at? I'm sorry, jail corrections. What is inmate boarding? So we have
That's-
2,000,001.
No, that's, we brought down to 1.5.
I know we did.
So this needs to be updated with today's figures.
Right.
Well, this is, but,
Obviously, this was printed yesterday.
yeah,
so-
yeah,
But this does have the 1.5.
It's
Is
made
it
metal.
departmental? What's up, they take the departmental? I'm still
I don't
off.
see the boarding on, here. They make it medical,
Yeah, boarding is.
Oh,
is
40/30.
40/30.
okay.
oh yeah, and it's got the 450 in the
Yeah.
inmate medical, so okay, it is updated
1.5, yeah.
with that.
But the department requested doesn't have those other changes that.
Yeah,
we
that we know
Right.
today.
It's back and forth and
Mm-hmm,
personnel, the full-time is
mm-hmm.
different.
So if I look at. Personnel. Went up over about 200,000. And. The medical and dental. Went up. Let's just say 400,000. And the inmate boarding went up 400,000.
Mm-hmm.
The budget for. This year. Should be about, what? Million something more than what we had last year. That it looks like it's. 800. Looks like it's less by about that same amount,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know,
That's fine.
we'll have to look at this at the next time, I guess. So you might wanna ask Carrie to check it over.
Yeah,
Do you
the formulas,
do you understand what I'm saying about the amounts?
the amounts, yeah.
Or the. This doesn't make sense to me.
Well, one thing here, this sheet was, as far as the expenses, this is October 31st, so it's nothing to say.
Yeah,
So I got another week in there.
but I wasn't even looking at the expenses, I was trying to compare budget to budget.
Yeah.
And it. So we
Can't do it now.
need better information, okay. So I think that ends today's session, if I could have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we end today's meeting right on time at 1 p.m.
Have a second? All right, all in favor? Hey. Then we're meeting then.